Our story begins in the 4th Academy of the city of Suna, where all the students have gathered today. The director of this academy, Master James, approached them and said that today they would become part of a parallel reality. These students can also be called participants in the big game. As soon as they enter the formation, the system will immediately name their class. They can become a strong swordsman, a sturdy knight, or a skilled killer who knows no pity. There is also the opportunity to become a professional sorcerer. All of this will be decided by the system, and then everyone must become a master of their class. The teleport formation was activated, and the excited students began to await the start of this exciting game. Almost 18 years have passed since John was reborn, and finally this long-awaited day has come. This world is called Kaiji Star, a parallel world that is very similar to our Earth. But unlike Earth, the flora and fauna of this planet were more dangerous. But one day the artificial world came closer to us and led to a catastrophe. Various difficult and dangerous dungeons began to appear all over the world. Upon reaching the age of 18, people gain abilities through a teleport formation and use them to clear the dungeon. By killing monsters, they can raise their level and gain attribute points to become stronger. The system greeted the player named John. This was his first encounter with the system when being transported to another world. It was time to choose his class. John is very worried and hopes that he will be lucky enough to get a good grade, because a lot depends on it. It took a few minutes to select a system solution, but then he finally got a hidden class. The hidden class is called the Necromancer's Skills. It is a rather rare gift for the player. John was very pleased with this choice. The Necromancer is a very rare class. There may only be one or two of them in the entire world. With a magical wave of a staff, you can open the gates of hell and summon a vast number of prominent first-level undead creatures. As long as these monsters have enough mana, they can become an army made of one person. Overall, getting a hidden class means you will become more powerful than other people. But John very quickly saw that this class had its drawbacks, because it turned out that his spiritual energy was 0. The initial characteristic points are distributed selectively, so he can get a maximum of 10 points for each of the attributes. Spiritual energy is very important for a sorcerer. If it is below 5 points, then he will have problems, but John's spiritual energy is 0. A little later, the system notified the boy that he had received the Braveheart talent. Free stat points can be obtained as you level up, so you should constantly strive to become stronger. So now John must focus on destroying his enemies and gaining attribute points. If he does everything right, he can achieve perfect balance, almost like Thanos. If this happens, he will become a terrifying one-man army and the strongest warrior in the world. His characteristics force him to use his strength to the maximum, so strength is now his most important weapon. He asked the system to invest all of his stat points into power. The next step will be registration and completing the first task. The system very quickly began the process of transporting the player to the first mission. John immediately took out his wand and prepared for a fierce confrontation. He struck a powerful blow at this monster and immediately hit it in the head. The skeleton has very weak defense, so it could not withstand this blow and was left without a head. John was surprised that he had defeated his first opponent so easily, but without the use of magic, he would have a hard time in the future. Due to defeating this skeleton, he gained another strength point and 3 experience points. The system instantly notified him of this. Now he has received an additional passive technique, Mighty Strength, meaning now his strength indicators will be doubled during an attack. Having understood his characteristics, he will understand that he can easily defeat opponents who have problems with defense. That should be enough to make him feel confident in close combat. But right now he has other things to think about. Don't forget that he is still in a cave filled with monsters, so it's better to focus on completing the task. The number of skeletons immediately increased. It seemed as if they sensed the death of their comrade and came to take revenge. John felt quite confident. He had already learned that he had a large reserve of strength, so he could not be afraid of skeletons. With the help of his wand, he easily repels all their attacks and skillfully counterattacks. Negotiating with skeletons gives you easy points and additional skills, making them easy prey. John immediately raised his level. Now his strength is 30 points. Although an ordinary player, even 3 times weaker, is already considered a genius. But the guy doesn't understand why these skeletons are too weak for this location. The task seems too easy. It was at this moment that he felt amused. This item will give him the ability to perform a critical strike. Before it was time to relax, John saw new monsters approaching him. In this cave, they never end, and their number only increases with every minute. We must not forget that John is just a beginner. His initial characteristics are still too weak, so he must be attentive and concentrated. If he acts correctly and does not forget about his defense, he will be able to easily destroy them and gain additional experience points and strength. These skeletons have very weak agility, which is why John easily defeats them. He raised his level and started checking the status of his stats in the system, and so far his progress has been quite rapid. Near the main academy building, students were actively discussing the start of the game and the class they had received. Almost everyone has already completed the first task, but the academy director is still silent. Perhaps some player is still inside the cave. No one understood how this was even possible, because this task was too easy to do for so long. They believe that if someone really fails a task or dies, they will be laughed at for a very long time. John was indeed still in this cave. He destroyed all the skeletons but did not receive a message about the completion of the task. At that moment, he heard a very loud and scary voice, as if someone didn't like everything he had done today. The skeletons' heads began to rise into the air, as if some force had begun to control them. Soon they began to gather together. The union of skeletons would not lead to anything good. John immediately understood this. Soon, a real giant was created from these body parts. It turned out that this is the Skeleton King. He has much stronger characteristics than all his other subjects. It feels like this game is playing a joke on John, because it's very strange that such a strong boss is on the first level. It seems as if the creators of this system want all the newcomers to die, or only John to die. The battle between the beginner and the skeleton boss has begun. John will have a hard time finding a way to victory. He was very lucky to dodge his opponent's first attack. Otherwise, his life would have ended very quickly. Although this skeleton boss is very strong, he is quite predictable, and that is the guy's only advantage. Although, of course, John is not sure that his strength will be enough to break through the boss's defense. He must act unpredictably, show all his agility and speed in order to get a chance. Although his attacks sometimes work, they deal too little damage to the opponent. Of course, he can defeat the Skeleton King, but to do so, he needs to hit him many times. In this battle, John immediately felt that he was a real novice against the background of this giant. It seems like it was created to intimidate beginners. Over time, John realized that his opponent only had 200 health points left, so it would all be over soon. The skeleton boss has been guarding this cave for many years, but has never encountered a player who would kill such a large number of his people. Because of this monster lost a large amount of its strength, but he can't understand how a beginner is able to fight it on equal terms. He's not going to let this guy live after everything he's done. The skeleton boss is getting stronger with every second. If he is not stopped now, it will be almost impossible to do so later. Not only is his strength increasing, his speed has also increased significantly in the last few minutes. This is not enough to intimidate John. This guy is always ready to go forward and fight to the last drop of blood. His direct attacks no longer work on the boss, so you need to limit his movements to start with. The main thing is not to forget about defense and skillfully defend and dodge all his attacks. Due to his anger, the skeleton boss becomes too predictable, even despite his speed. John manages to dodge his attacks, but even that isn't enough, as the shockwave takes away his health. We had to use logic and strategic thinking to lure the skeleton into a trap. John did everything he could to attack this monster with rocks from this cave. It was a wise decision. This was probably the only way this guy could win this fight. There was no other way. The Skeleton King lost a huge amount of his health due to this attack, but still remained alive. John understands perfectly well that he can't fight like this forever. He needs to act now, before the skeleton gets up. To do this, you need to concentrate all your strengths and deliver a well-aimed blow. The guy quickly realized that this was the perfect moment to use the skeleton gauntlet. Let us remind you that this is a one-time rank D artifact, after using which the next hit, with a probability of 100%, will cause critical damage. In the last seconds of his life, the Skeleton King realized that he had underestimated this guy too much. But it was too late to figure anything out. The Skeleton King died thanks to the use of the skeleton gauntlet. The system notified the boy of the successful completion of the task, and he is now an official player in the metaverse world. He also became the first person to defeat the Skeleton King. For all these achievements, he received a lot of points. But that's not all. John also received the Ring of the Skeleton King. This will further increase his strength and skills. Sure, it's not as cool as the skeleton gauntlet, but this ring can be used many times, although only once a day. It's surprising that he became the first person to defeat the Skeleton King. I wonder how other players completed this task. In any case, it's not really important now. It's time to return to your own world. From this cave, the boy immediately moved to the academy, where all the students had already gathered. At that moment, a big fat creature attacked him. But no, it was a wild boar, and his best friend was Robert. He can't understand why John took so long to complete this task. Everyone else had already completed the first mission long ago. He said that more than 3 hours had passed since the last player left the cave. Robert began to tell me that he had received the wizard class. Now he considers himself Voldemort. At that moment, they heard another guy start talking to them. It seemed he had come to laugh at John. This is the head of the group, Michael. He thinks that John is nothing more than a nice cover. But in the world of the metaverse, everything is decided by class. Later, the academy director appeared. He greeted everyone who had left the metaverse and said that tomorrow, the entire group would take part in a test for newcomers. He asked the students to talk about their classes and talents to get to know each other better. Everyone around started naming their classes. Some were warriors, some assassins, and some sorcerers. It turned out that Michael received the swordsman class. He has a rank B talent, and he is very happy with this choice. Everyone knows that the swordsman is a very powerful class in the metaverse. Probably anyone would like to get this class. Even the director of the academy knows that a person with a B rank talent can already be called a genius, so these students are very talented. Soon it was John's turn. He was not at all shy and confidently announced that he had received the Necromancer class. But he didn't talk about his talent because he didn't want to talk about it now, probably because it was unknown to him. The headmaster was shocked to hear that there was a necromancer among his students. Of course, he knew that it was a hidden class. The students had already heard many legends about necromancers. Once a necromancer single-handedly destroyed a guild. Even Michael was shocked to hear this, but he believes that wizards are known for their fragility, meaning they are real cowards. In his opinion, necromancers are weaker than ordinary people because they spend almost all their time around the undead. Creating a summoning spell takes a lot of time, and necromancers rarely have friends who could protect them. Everyone was surprised that after John got such a cool class, he still remained a modest guy. But John knows that a necromancer cannot cast any spells, so he is just like an ordinary person. The guy is not sure if he will be able to defend himself in training, so he doesn't want to make too much noise about his talents. The director believes that after training, a necromancer can get into the best universities in the country. But this requires a lot of work. The students went home to rest and prepare for tomorrow's assignment. Robert said that he would also like to be a necromancer, but his characteristics are also quite good. John smiled and replied that with active training you can compensate for your shortcomings. Even if they fail this task, it's better than death. At least that's what Director James thinks. He asked the students not to worry too much. The novice test is not as dangerous as they think, so it should not lead to death. But we also need to remember that there are always risks. There was a terrible incident earlier when a group of 40 people was completely wiped out. They all disappeared without even leaving a trace. And to this day, no one has been able to understand what kind of terrible world these players fell into. All that is known is that this world was called the Village of Horrors, and even this name is scary. After that, the director assured that if the player leaves the world on time, he will not be in danger. He asked the students to get ready, because as soon as the timer reached 0, the test would begin. John looked quite determined. He was sure that he would succeed, although some features of his talent worried the guy. All the players found themselves in the same world. At first glance, they didn't see anything special. It seems like this is the place they will need to clean up. Everyone immediately started to be interested in potential rivals. The group leader, Michael, immediately assured the others that he would be able to protect them all. Let's see how he would act in critical situations. He asked the players to follow him so that he could lead them to success. He always behaves like that, so it's no surprise. Even now, while completing the task, Michael thinks about John. It seems to him that this necromancer is actually too weak. John didn't pay any attention to it at all. It seemed strange to him that this world was created for beginners, but there were no systematic hints here. Soon, they met the first monster. He looks quite stylish. It seems as if he came from a fashion show in Milan. The players immediately started to get nervous. They still had too little experience to feel confident when encountering monsters. This man started laughing and said that he was happy to meet the players in the Village of Horrors. The system notified that this was an S-rank task. They had to stay alive and learn the main secret of the Village of Horrors. Of course, they all started shaking and screaming in fear. The director had already told them that earlier 40 players had disappeared in the Village of Horrors, and they still haven't been found. Some started to panic too much and decided to run away. They said they had already played this game and wanted to go home. For a world of this rank, it is necessary to be at the initial stage, but they are still students. So how can they pass this difficult test? The initial, intermediate, and final stages represent the degrees of power in the world of the metaverse. The test has begun and no one will be able to return home. The gates have closed. The monster said that there was no point in resisting. Anyone who entered the Village of Horrors would not be able to return. After these words, panic gripped almost all the players. They began screaming that they were going to die, and some even started crying. It's no wonder the previous group was completely wiped out. It's much easier to do this when players are panicking. This monster doesn't look evil, on the contrary. It's mysterious, so it's unlikely to be an enemy for players. He asked them not to worry and to feel at home. Maybe he was deliberately doing everything to relax them? A little later, he explained what he meant. If sun set over the horizon. Of course, after such words, no one was going to walk around at night. Everyone decided to listen to the words of the Bolgs and find a house for themselves. They were divided into 4 groups of 11 people. It was decided that this was the perfect balance. Each group found a house to live in. For security reasons, they decided to occupy the 2nd floor. Mary approached John and told him not to forget to protect her if they were in danger. This girl received the class of a sorcerer healer. She will be able to restore him a lot of mana and health at a critical moment. At this moment, Linda started yelling at her. She thought Mary was behaving too boldly, even though the other students were looking at her. The girls immediately started fighting among themselves, as always happens when they both like the same guy. Within seconds, they were trying to insult each other and almost started fighting. The whole situation was unpleasant, but they soon forgot about the conflict because strange things started happening. One of the boys went to the window of the house and saw his grandmother. Tears immediately appeared in his eyes. His grandmother came to the house and said that she was very cold and scared and wanted her grandson to let her in. Of course, he couldn't refuse his grandmother, so he immediately started trying to open the window. He soon succeeded, although John realized what was happening and began to shout that this was not his grandmother at all. We should have intervened in this situation immediately, instead of watching the girls scream at each other. But now it's too late. The grandmother must have been very angry because her grandson didn't come to visit her for the weekend, and now she wants revenge. She was ready to tear off her granddaughter's head, but the sand chains caught her just in time. Oddly enough, this was Fat Robert's strong point. He immediately intervened and helped his friend. Robert is only a rookie, so he won't be able to hold back this demon forever, so everyone should get ready for a fun evening. The grandmother has transformed into her true form. She is a fairly common monster called Horror. She is on the 3rd level. Still, it was enough to scare the students. Were even small monsters really that different in this world for newcomers? If a monster comes close and eats a guy as fat as Robert, he'll immediately start having problems with his sugar and cholesterol levels. It seems that this glutton didn't pay any attention to this at all, so Linda intervened in the situation and defended her friend. Using this protection, she loses her health every second, so she needs to come up with something. She asked John to immediately summon the undead to stop this horror. Probably she doesn't know yet that he can't do it. Mary also took action, using healing magic to help her classmate. A few minutes ago, they were ready to kill each other, but now they are fighting together. The village of horrors is changing people. As long as everyone acts as a real team, defeating this monster will not be a problem. You just need to wait until John summons the undead. But a little later, everyone understood that he was not going to do this, but on the contrary, he wanted to demonstrate his close combat skills. He probably doesn't know yet that his wand needs to be used in a completely different way. If the horror gets close to him, it will kill him. But John has actively training since the very morning. Michael replied that this was an inferior training, but only practicing the attack. He turned to Linda and asked her to stay at his house that night, because he would not allow her to take the hit. That's not going to do it. They need to work as a real team, and Michael needs to take an example from John. A new conflict almost started, but the monsters intervened again. It seems as if they are against conflicts among students. It turned out that the Bolg had come with the same monsters as him. He ordered these children to be captured and burned alive, and any insects that resisted were slaughtered like pigs. Michael stepped forward and started talking to the village boss. He thought there had been some kind of misunderstanding. John noticed that there were about the same number of them as the inhabitants of the village, and they were also about the same age. Bolg said that the spirit that protects this village was killed last night, meaning the players broke the rules. Due to violation of the rules, the villagers will also suffer, so players must die 1,000 times to pay for their sins. Michael hopes there is some way to save the protector's spirit if they accidentally kill him again. There is a way, a person who has angered the real smell of death. Over time, monsters also appeared, probably sensing the human presence on the streets of this village. It's not entirely clear how John plans to stay alive. It seems as if he's now a tasty snack for this spider. John began to feel something approaching him from behind, but he was in no hurry to act yet. At the last moment, when the monster was almost about to tear his head off, the sand chain technique was activated again. The guy's best friend, Fat Man Robert, intervened in the situation and asked Michael to hurry up because he wouldn't be able to control this madness for long. It was at this moment that the swordsman Michael appeared. He said that no one should worry because he would protect everyone. As a true swordsman, he is confident that he can defeat the monster with one blow. But in real life, things are sometimes not quite as you imagine. You can't overestimate your chances. Michael underestimated this monster and was especially surprised by its speed. He couldn't understand how stupid John could defeat the monster with one punch, but if he could do it, then Michael should too. He used a sword attack and landed the first successful blow. It wasn't enough to win, but it took 5 health points from the monster. At that moment, the girls ran up to John. He understood why they had left the house. He asked them to hide and wait for him. They explained that they feared for his life and decided to take the risk to save him. They tried to break the chains, but he was able to do it without their help. That's what a true alpha male means. Now they are ready to help Michael defeat this monster. A real team. But the head of the group doesn't want to be helped. He wants to win on his own, because men really don't hide behind women's backs. He was told that the weak point of the horror is its head. Yesterday, John hit his head and immediately killed the monster. Michael started to smile because he should have guessed this earlier, but it's never too late to draw conclusions and change strategy. But John intervened in the situation and said that in reality everything is not as it seems. The head is not the weakest part of the monster. Michael asked him not to interfere. Probably John is just afraid that someone will surpass his achievements. Michael is confident that with the help of your sword he will do whatever is necessary. It must be admitted that his attacks are really fast. But the problem is that they don't do too much damage to the opponent, while Michael has lost most of his health. This is really strange. Robert believed that the monster's weak point was its head. Perhaps the secret was John's strength. If everything turns out to be true, then Michael will lose his self-esteem. He is a swordsman, so he cannot be weaker than others. He was advised to flee immediately because with his low health he could die soon. Michael replied that he was not going to run away. As the head of the group, he had to protect his people. That's why he prepared to use the technique of a devastating attack and show who's really in charge here. This was almost enough to completely kill the monster. All that was left was to deliver the final blow. Michael wanted to show that he was better than John, but he couldn't even do that. John intervened and delivered the final blow. Of course, Michael was incredibly angry about this. After that, the Necromancer took a black stone from the monster. Perhaps that was what interested him. All this time, Michael could not calm down. He believed that he was the winner, but this victory was taken away from him. It turned out that there were more monsters than it seemed. 2 more similar creatures appeared from the darkness. John ordered to immediately hide in the house, and in no case to fight the monsters. He probably knows what to do. The students immediately decided to heed the boy's advice and fled inside the house. He said that they would find out everything tomorrow, but for now, they should listen to what he had to tell them. The next day, the village god came to them again. He gave them a chance to make amends, but they did not take advantage of it and killed another spirit. Now he is sure that he must kill all these children. He will not let them destroy the village of horrors. The problem is that John is not at all sure that Bolg is a real resident of the village of horrors. He said that it was time to reveal the whole truth about this place because there is only one truth. Bolg doesn't understand what he's talking about at all. It seems like this guy wants to distract him from his real goal. He said that all of them are not indigenous to this village at all. In fact, they are students of the academy who were destroyed earlier in the village of horrors, exactly 40 of them. All this time they are in an illusion, and that is why they cannot leave this place. Of course, the Bulgarians started laughing loudly and said that they couldn't be kids from school. It was all some kind of nonsense. He is sure that this guy is simply afraid of death, and that is why he is trying to deceive and confuse them. These are tales that have no evidence. Jones remained calm and took a stone out of his pocket. It turned out that he had destroyed this object and now deserved death for it. It turned out that all his friends also took similar stones out of their pockets. Bolg was shocked. These stones are in this village at night. If these stones are destroyed, the demons will definitely punish them for it. John is sure that this is not a guardian stone at all. The entire illusion is created from these black stones and the mysterious symbols on them. If you destroy these stones, you can destroy this illusion, and that is what the students will do now. As soon as they destroyed the stones, the sky literally began to break. Was this guy right? The entire illusion began to break down along with the sky. These people really turned out to be disciples who had been in this place a long time ago. Now they don't understand what's happening. It seems like they're already used to being residents of this village. But finally, the boy remembered everything. He remembered that he was actually the class president. The main secret of the village of horrors has been revealed, and now the residents have finally awakened from their sleep, which means that the mission has been successfully completed. Rewards will be distributed based on each player's task rating, and soon, all players will be teleported out of the dungeon. Robert began to thank his friend for guessing all this. It was with the help of his knowledge that they passed this test. All the students have been teleported to the real world, but these 5 players are still here. They were congratulated on destroying the Blackstone of Horrors and launching a secret mission called Stealing the Heart of Horror. In the 4th Academy, the director and other students had already started to panic. The 5 players had not returned. Had they really launched a hidden mission? The director is confident that they will be able to complete this mission, and then they will be able to enter any university. But everyone knows that in the Village of Horrors, the hidden mission will be incredibly dangerous. They are still beginners. So will they have enough strength for it? Now they are all approximately at level 3, which is not enough to destroy strong monsters. They don't know what a Heart of Horrors is, so they don't understand exactly how they're supposed to steal that heart. Everyone is sure that John knew what awaited them after the destruction of the stones, but it seems as if he is shocked too. The players couldn't rest for long because level 5 monsters soon appeared and began attacking them. There were 4 of them at once. It would be difficult to defeat such a large number of opponents. All players have started to use their strengths. If they act as a real team, they can hope for success. Swordsman Michael also kept up with his comrades. He began to attack the monsters first. It turned out that his attacks took too little health from opponents. Although when John attacked monsters, he killed them with 1 blow. Mary asked her friends to hurry up because her mother was dying, and Linda had very little health left. That's why John intervened in the situation. With 1 blow, he cut the monster into several pieces. Even that wasn't enough, so he had to destroy the remaining monsters, which didn't take long either. His incredible strength in close combat is truly crucial. He received the monster's core, and in it he found a witch's necklace. This will help increase the damage from his power to opponents. It's a good weapon, but he can't use it, so it's better to give it to the mayor because she's also a witch. If John destroys 1 more monster, he will get level 6, which means a greater chance of finding equipment. The objective of this hidden mission is to steal the Heart of Horror. It is probably located in the monster's body, so to start with, you need to kill it. John asked all his friends to listen carefully to what he was saying, but at that very moment they fell into the dungeon. It was strange because John didn't feel a hard landing. He fell onto something soft. At first he thought it was some kind of air mattress, but it turned out to be his fat friend Robert. Everyone remained safe and sound, although not everyone was lucky enough to land so softly. There was a terrible stench all around. It felt like they had fallen into a sewer. This place is not ventilated at all, although there are many corpses of microorganisms here, so the smell is quite logical. A little later it turned out that the smell could be due to the breath of a huge monster. Fortunately, he was still asleep. This is the King of Horrors. He is in a dormant state and is at the 10th level, and he also knows how to impose a kingdom of horrors. If they wake him up, he will chase them until he kills them. This is a very rare boss. It turns out that the Heart of Horror is the heart of this devil, so it might be better to find another way to complete the mission, because you don't want to wake him up. He has incredible power potential. With 1 touch, he can turn them into a fried sausage. Michael was ready to leave the monster alone and find another way to complete the mission, but John is sure that they should try. His ability to add his strength can help in this mission. If he can hit a few times, it will be enough to kill the devil. Of course it's dangerous. 1 mistake and they're all dead, which is why Robert thinks his friend is sick. But John asked to believe him again. Although the opponent's characteristics are great, his defense is too weak. If players use their strengths to attack the monster's weaknesses, they will have excellent chances. They must divert the monster's attention to themselves, and that's when John will have a chance to make accurate attacks. Of course, it was incredibly risky, but his friends decided to trust him, even though Michael was against it. He asked John to be careful, because if everything went wrong, they wouldn't be able to escape from here. The players decided to rest a bit, then prepared to take active action. Until they attack the monster, it will be asleep. So the first strike is especially important. You need to find the opponent's weak spot. Although it looked dangerous, John approached it closely and saw something interesting. At first he didn't understand what it was, but then he thought it might be the monster's weakness. That's why he raised his wand and prepared for a quick attack. In order to show his maximum, he used the effect of the Skeleton King's ring, which would double his strength. The blow turned out to be incredibly strong and took away a lot of health from the horror boss, more than half. Robert and Michael couldn't believe that it was possible to hit monsters so hard. Player John attacked the Heart of Horror. The mission was continued because the King of Horrors woke up. Now the target has been successfully changed. Players must kill the King of Horrors. The difficulty of this task is level A. John asked his friends to prepare for a difficult battle. They had to act according to the plan. They would distract, and he would attack. Of course, it's easy to plan and formulate a theory, but when real practice begins, things usually don't go according to plan. John asked Michael to attack first in order to anger the monster as much as possible. The headman used all his abilities to deliver the most powerful blow he was capable of, but this blow only took away 1 health point from the monster. Of course, Michael was angry because when John hit the monster, it took away 508 health points. The swordsman decided that his strength was in speed and endurance, so he was ready to scratch the monster to death. The King of Horrors thought that this ant wanted to die, so he could easily arrange it. Michael believes that a real man should carry a big sword and achieve high results, so he is not afraid of any King of Horrors. The monster prepared to send him to hell. Robert had to intervene and protect the elder. If it weren't for his sand chain technique, Michael would have turned into a stake. It immediately became apparent that things were not going as smoothly as planned. After 2 attacks and healing, they could barely contain the monster. Michael is sure that they have no right to stop and must continue to attack. Of course, they hope that with the help of his strengths, John will be able to destroy the monster. His attacks really take away a lot of the Horror King's health. Because of this, the king can soon activate the Horror Kingdom. The system reported that this could lead to major complications and problems. Although even without this, the King of Horrors easily takes away a large amount of health from opponents. John has no right to allow the king to take advantage of this opportunity. This is probably the reason why the people who were in the Village of Horrors lived in illusions for so long. We must stop this monster once and for all, otherwise he will continue to do evil. When the critical moment came, everyone fell silent and held their breath. Now everything could be resolved. The mayor has little mana left. She won't be able to heal John if something goes wrong. But the guy is sure that his attack should be enough to end everything right now. The system congratulated player John on killing the boss in the Village of Horrors, rewarding him with 30 attribute points. The hidden mission to kill the King of Horrors has been completed. The reward will be distributed based on the player's rating. So they really succeeded. The players began to rejoice and celebrate the victory. Soon the system finished counting their achievements and began giving everyone gifts. They all acted as a real team and each of them individually deserved their reward. John added 50 experience points and a necromancy skill book to his rating. This technique cannot be used yet, but there is something else, and the boy hopes that the King of Horrors will give him something valuable. It turned out that John received a rank B dragon sword, which increases attack power and ignores 30% of the opponent's defense. Oddly enough, John was even a little upset because now he is at rank A, and this sword is a rank lower. That's why he thought that the sword should belong to the swordsman, and gave it to Michael because only he knows how to use this weapon. The swordsman couldn't believe that he was really so lucky. This equipment is incredibly valuable. Players can't buy it even with a large amount of gold. If you sell this lighthouse, you can buy yourself a house, but John doesn't care about that at all. He thought the stinking King of Horrors left him something else. All of his stats were increased after this mission, but his health is still too low, so he must always think about defense. The passive effect of his skills cannot add points to other characteristics, so you always have to think about how to survive. You have to be more resilient. The hidden mission has been completed. Players will now be transported back to the real world, so they should prepare for this. Soon, they finally return to real life. Now it was time to rest. At this moment, the other students and the academy director were waiting for them. They were glad that John and everyone else survived and completed the mission. The director was already starting to worry. They had been gone for almost 2 days, so he began to think they were dead. Having learned the whole truth about this story, he said that these 5 students were nominated for the title of the best in the academy. Now there are 5 geniuses in this class. Probably the class will now be called Genius. Nevertheless, Michael is still unhappy. He is waiting for the next mission to make John regret it so that he gives him his sword. While the principal continued to praise the students, an assistant ran up to him with urgent news. He said that representatives of the capital's universities came to them to look at these 5 geniuses. The director hasn't told anyone about this yet. Is the university management really that knowledgeable? Soon they all met representatives of the capital's universities. They were quite young men. They have already learned all the information about the 5 students who were able to clear the Village of Horrors and complete the hidden mission. The capital's universities need such talented boys and girls. They can enroll them immediately if they agree to it. Previously, you had to pass exams for this, but now everything has changed because everyone wants to get these geniuses. A representative from another university didn't like this very much. He said that they had already organized an exam for students. This is necessary in order to test their abilities. They will collect all the data and check whether they fit the recruitment standards. John started to worry when he heard about the aptitude test because he couldn't use his skills. But he really wants to get into the representatives immediately saw that he was suitable for the capital's university. Now he has to demonstrate what he can do and show his strengths. Michael is confident that his special sword can destroy any defense, and he is ready to show it right now. The university representative was shocked that the sword could actually penetrate the defense, especially considering it was level 25. He was pleased with the guy's strength, and he also noted his speed. The students were also surprised that the swordsman had progressed so quickly. Everyone now wanted to be like Michael. University representatives are already dreaming of luring him to their institution. Michael was given the opportunity to choose, but he wants to wait for his other friends because he has an interesting plan. Michael wants to go where John goes, in order to demonstrate that he is better than him. The mayor was the next to demonstrate her abilities. From the very beginning, she activated the Autumn Wind skill. Her technique has also been noted by the representatives. She is already at the 4th level and can treat a group of people at the same time. After that, it was Linda's turn. She showed incredible defensive skills, although she is only at level 4. Everyone was very pleased with her abilities. Next to this girl, you can boldly go on the attack. After that, Fat Man Robert took a step forward. He said that he was a sorcerer and was ready to show something. This is the first time a person who weighs over 300 pounds has said he is a wizard. It seems like this fat guy has everything mixed up. Robert began to activate his technique, but the representative didn't feel anything. Perhaps he needed to eat a few nuggets to activate his powers. It turned out that Robert should not be underestimated. That's exactly what they expect from a necromancer. But John is a necromancer of a completely different kind. You could say he's a new school. Usually everyone expects necromancers to summon the undead to help, but John prepared for close combat. This blow was so strong that it was even hard to believe. The university representative immediately lost 200 health points. No one expected such a plot twist. It seemed that the students were not capable of such a thing. It's interesting to watch the shocked faces of the representatives of this academy. Even they underestimated John. It turned out that an ordinary student defeated a level 25 swordsman. This is absurd. Now it is unknown what kind of monster this guy is. He almost killed the teacher with one blow. Is he really at level 7? Other students thought they were hallucinating because it was hard to believe that John had knocked out the teacher. It seems that necromancers are indeed a very special class, and all universities in the world want to receive such a student. Nevertheless, it is difficult to evaluate him. Although he passed the test, he did not show necromancy. John replied that this was not a problem for him. He wanted to enter the Faculty of Physical Education. The main thing was to study in the capital. This is the first time in history that someone wants to enter a faculty that does not belong to their class. Such decisions are not made immediately. You need to talk to the director and tell him about this situation. When the university director found out about this, he decided to personally appear and talk to this guy. Thus, John met the director of Kyoto University. He is called Master William. He said that their university was the best in the country and suggested that John study there. A representative from another university also tried to call their director, but it seems it's too late to do so. They are all students in the same class, so they will probably choose the same university. Thus, Kyoto University has received 5 true geniuses. All parties will be satisfied. John decided not to miss the opportunity and talk to the director. He wants to know if William knew his father, a man named David. For a long time, the director could not believe that he was standing in front of the real son of David and Barbara. Now it is clear why he is so talented. The principal said that these two were once his students, but he hadn't seen them in a very long time. All we can say is that the boys' parents are incredibly powerful, but they disappeared more than 10 years ago and there is no contact with them. The last thing the director heard from them was stories about copies of the first class. John must go on a journey and find his parents. Soon they will be officially enrolled in Kyoto University, but for now, they must clean up the exclusive dungeons. During this time, they can make even more progress, and this will help them in the future. Once the newcomers pass the test, the new academy will divide them into classes based on their skills. A week has passed since that day. Let's move on to the wizard's office of the 4th Academy. Today, they are talking about an exclusive dungeon. This dungeon is a replica. It was created to test the students' abilities. If they work as a real team, it will be easy to clear it. Fat Robert and his best friend were absent from this lesson. They were already preparing to plunge into the world of the dungeon. The guys believe that theory always loses in practice, which is why they decided to train in real life, not in a school classroom. The main thing is to get all the rewards, and they will be able to play this copy several times anyway, just without the rewards. They are both very self-confident and believe that together they can handle any challenge. Elaine greeted them and said that the download of the exclusive copy had already begun. Soon the download was complete, the exclusive copy was created. The dungeon was called the Den of 10,000 Poisons. John immediately told his friend to go inside. It seemed he didn't want to listen to the system's other prompts. Robert is shocked. He doesn't understand how John was able to clear the skeleton dungeon if he didn't listen to the system's prompts. It turned out that John just walked in and started destroying everything in his path. He's a real tiger. According to legend, a very old dark settlement lives in the east of the country. They know how to create poisonous insects, evil and cruel, which can poison people. Those who have been poisoned begin to suffer incredibly. Poisonous insects multiply in their bodies and eat their bodies from the inside. You need to find this legendary dark settlement throughout the dungeon and also destroy all the poisonous insects. To open the dungeon lair of 10,000 poisons, 5 players are needed. The system will automatically select 3 partners for them. Soon, all 5 players met together. When a guy named Richard saw them, he asked them to obey his orders. A girl named Lisa greeted them and said that she was a fire wizard, and next to her was her brother Charles, who was also a fire wizard. Robert greeted them, gave his name and John's, and said that he hoped they would work as a real team. There are 5 words painted on the wall that could be a clue to opening the door. Richard said he wasn't going to listen to any hints and tried to force the door open, but this method didn't work. It seems that this door does not obey witchcraft at all, so you will still have to listen to the clues. John approached the door and began to analyze it. He realized that it was immune to witchcraft. Meanwhile, Lisa was able to decipher the clues they say about kindness and courage. But, as it turned out later, to open this door, only ordinary force is enough. That's the trick. The team members couldn't believe their own swords. It seems this guy doesn't like to follow the rules at all. Whatever it was, the door was opened with one blow. That's what true strength means. John just wanted to see if he could open the door using physical properties, but he didn't expect the door to be so fragile. It turned out that there was another door waiting for them ahead. It was quite strange. I wonder how to open it. Robert warned us to be more careful with the flowers around us because they were poisonous. It turned out that all the players had already touched these flowers. Now, every minute, they will lose 3 health points. They can't afford to stop, or they'll die very quickly, so they have to hurry. If you calculate, John's health will last for half an hour, but that's too little. Now they must find a very quick way to clear this dungeon. There's a cipher in front of this door again, but this time they don't have time for it. That's why John immediately demonstrated his physical abilities and opened the door again by force. At such moments, he realizes that his necromancer skills are not needed if he has such power. This dungeon looks very simple. The first task has already been completed. Now we need to continue. Soon the players saw in front of them a little girl named Xiao Dong. She immediately noticed that they were all poisonous flowers, and so she asked them to go to the lair to help them. If the poisoning continues, it will be almost impossible to save them. But how did she end up here? And why is she calling them to her lair? The players didn't know what to do next, so they decided to trust this girl and follow her to her parents. Xiao told her parents that these people were not from this world. She found them when she was gathering herbs in the mountains and noticed that they were poisoned by flowers. The girl's parents were shocked, but decided not to turn away from the guests and help them. They invited these players inside the house and offered them an antidote to drink. At first glance, you wouldn't say that this antidote looks delicious. Quite the opposite. Robert said that he was already fat, so he would rather give his portion to someone else. Charles noticed that his health was only half, so they decided to drink this dish first. He said that it tastes quite delicious. This dish is really effective and he already feels an improvement in his health. Almost all of them drank this dish except John, but they did not immediately feel any improvement in their well-being. The elder of these people forbids them from approaching the outside world, as well as from using poison at will. The players were asked to leave quickly because they don't like uninvited guests. Xiao was against it. She said there were only 5 of them, so it would be better to leave them here for a while. John replied that they didn't want to bother anyone, but they were just now feeling better from the poison, so they weren't ready to continue on their journey. John looked at the little girl's parents and couldn't understand why they were reacting to them the way they did. A little later, the family left the players alone and told them they could rest. Xiao was in a great mood. She noticed that today was a full moon, which meant that the most interesting thing would begin soon. Many people gathered in the forest. They began to ask the deities for good weather and a cure for all diseases. As a sign of their loyalty, they are ready to offer human blood and flesh. It immediately became clear that something very strange and scary was happening here, as you would expect in a dungeon. The people brought in for sacrifice were destroyed in just a few seconds. 5 players saw all this with their own eyes. John realized that he had to escape from here. They won't be able to defeat such a large number of insects and people, even though he is very strong. The number of opponents is too high. Soon they were noticed, probably because the players were talking too loudly. The elder of this settlement was a woman. She ordered her scorpion assistant to bring these people here alive. The players ran into the house and closed the door behind them. Now they need to come up with a plan. They're lucky that this tribe doesn't know that the players came here to destroy all the insects. Soon they began to hear strange sounds and realized that they were completely surrounded by an army of scorpions. They are very lucky to have Alyssa with them who can activate the fire barrier technique. Because scorpions are too weak, they will not give experience or stat points. If points were awarded for destroying these monsters, John would soon be at the divine level. Fat Man Robert helped defeat the insects. He knows how to combine skills perfectly, but it takes a lot of mana from him. Soon a man called the Scorpion appeared. He wanted to teach them a lesson, but now he is going to destroy them. He guessed that they had come here to destroy the sacred insects and prepared to attack, but an earth explosion was activated. Oddly enough, this wasn't enough to destroy the Scorpion. This guy is better not to underestimate, because he is at level 10. Players were shocked because this guy has almost the same characteristics as the boss in the dungeon. Beginners cannot complete such a mission. John looked very determined. He was curious to understand what was so special about this dungeon. He instantly approached his opponent and delivered a powerful blow to his stomach. This was enough to take 120 health points from the Scorpion, but now this warrior is angry, which is a hint of trouble. He entered the state of an insect bite. His characteristics immediately increased, and his defense increased several times. If he was difficult to defeat before, now almost no one will be able to break through his defense. He prepared to drain all the blood from the bodies of these players, but John has his own plans for tonight. This battle lasted for several minutes. John almost completely depleted the health of this scorpion and forced it to beg for rescue. Now it's time to make the scorpion talk. He must tell about everything they do here and about the elder of their tribe. The man said that it was a sacrifice. They signed a contract according to which they had to bring fresh blood for the insects. An insect queen lives and breeds in an ancient well. Now it becomes clear why Xiao and her parents helped the players. They probably want to sacrifice them next time, but it's unlikely they'll be able to do it now. Scorpion couldn't understand which Xiao Dong John was talking about. He said that they only have one female Dong, and she's the oldest in the tribe. Now the picture of events in this dungeon becomes completely clear. John understands that he cannot leave such a strong opponent alive, and besides, he will be given many useful characteristics. The system congratulated the guy on defeating the first NPC. His reward was an S-rank item, the Sage's Hideout, which gives immunity to death. It is unlikely that John will be able to defeat all the enemies alone, and these people will soon find out that the Scorpion has been killed. This task is to destroy all the insects, but it is not necessary to fight with the tribe members to do this. Since the insect queen is in the well, you need to destroy it and act quickly before the elder finds out about all this. Soon the players finally found a well, near which they found Xiao Dong's dead parents. Now it's clear why their attitude towards the players was so strange. But that's not the main thing now. We need to destroy the well right now. This can be done using earth explosion techniques. Robert is a professional in these matters. He activated his skill and soon everyone saw a huge explosion in fire. When the smoke cleared, it became apparent that a huge hole had now been created in the place of this well. After such an explosion, all insects should have been destroyed, but the system still does not show that the mission has been completed. At this moment, the players heard a woman's laughter behind them, probably an elder. She stands next to her Python assistant and has already guessed that they destroyed the Scorpion. At first, no one could understand why she was talking to them, as if they were already acquaintances. But a little later, she turned back into a child, and everyone guessed that it was the same Xiao Dong in front of them. At first, she wanted to keep John alive and continue her lineage with him, but now the queen will be angry, so John must die. The guy asked her why she had to kill her parents. They were members of this clan. Xiao replied that they were just two losers who tried to ask too many questions. The elder asked him not to be angry and to calm down. Soon, he would no longer have to worry. Within seconds, an army of poisonous insects appeared in front of the players. These insects began to attack John. His team members immediately reacted and prepared to stop this. John started thinking about using the wizard's Braveheart skill, but then he thought he could win even without it. First, you need to defeat the elder, and then the insect queen, because if you kill the Xiao Dong, there will be fewer insects. His powerful punches can even make a hole in the human body. This guy's strength is truly impressive. Don't underestimate Xiao, she can heal wounds very quickly. It's a bit strange that she's considered a rare NPC, even though her stats aren't as good as a scorpion's, so there must be something wrong with her. Maybe this girl has some hidden abilities, and now John will find out about it. His defense has always been a weakness, but no one has been able to exploit it until now. Now he finally felt what a missed blow was like. The elder's speed increased and John didn't have time to adapt to it. She asked him not to worry because when he died, she would skin him and keep it as a keepsake. It would be the best souvenir. All the players were in serious trouble at that moment. Not just John, who was close to death. Python turned to the fat man and said that all his tricks would not work today. He probably underestimated the potential of the Earth exploding, and that was his most important mistake. Robert turned on the fat burning mode and turned into a real handsome man. His mother is almost 300 points. Now he is ready to come to his friend's aid because he is not going to watch John die. Burning his fat resulted in increased mana levels and martial arts stats. This is due to the power of his skill cast. His mana level is about the same as mid-level sorcerers. Now he is ready to fight the Elder on equal terms and try to destroy her. John asked Robert to activate the Earth Explosion technique in order to kill this woman, but in this way, he could also get hurt. Nevertheless, John insists that Robert do it, and assures him that everything will be fine. Xiao tried to break free from his embrace. She didn't want to die, but it was too late. Within a few seconds, a huge explosion rang out, and all the inhabitants of this dungeon heard the sound. The system notified that player John was close to death, which is why he activated the Sage's hiding technique. For his incredible self-confidence, he received a skill called Powerful Contract Rank A. Now his health is on another level, and he doesn't have to worry about being killed by some boss. They didn't receive any message and reward for Xiao. This could mean that this woman is still alive. And if she is alive, she is incredibly angry and thirsty for revenge. Now she finally wants to show them her true colors, because up until now she has only been playing a role. Even the system cannot identify the name of this creature, but its skill is a poisonous sting and the anger of a predator. Now the boss of the 10,000 Poisons lair has been strengthened. Beginners will not be able to defeat her, so they must leave the dungeon immediately. This is the system's order. John is not at all ready to listen to the system. He doesn't know his name. She seemed to remember something, but why he wanted to kill her so badly didn't seem logical to her. Soon the system notified that player John defeated NPC Xiao Dong in close combat. The reward was 15 attribute points and 75 experience points. Finally, the anomaly in the Lair of 1,000 Poisons dungeon was resolved, and the players were congratulated on successfully completing the mission. Each of them will receive a special reward depending on their rank and contribution to the victory. Finally, John got level 10. In this world, only after reaching level 10 can you be considered a real player. In addition, he now has access to some additional accessories, wild spider armor, and a mysterious cube. The mysterious cube has recognized needs to be unlocked. After that, Elaine appeared. She congratulated the players on successfully completing the difficult mission. Then, this beauty announced that she had a small bonus for them. She would increase their willpower by 20%. It's hard to look at Robert now and see him as a handsome man, although even when he was fat, he was still cute. The players thanked John for saving them and helping them through this dungeon. Perhaps they will still meet in the future. Now it's time to return to real life and prepare for admission to Kyoto University. During this task, John significantly improved his abilities. He has already moved to the next level of progress. For now, we move on to the 4th Academy of Suna City, where studies almost never end. When Michael and John reached level 10, he almost swallowed his tongue. There are many times more monsters in the Swordsman's exclusive dungeon than in the Wizard's dungeon, so Swordsman should progress faster. But it's the other way around. The girls mainly paid attention to Robert's transformation. They can't even believe that this handsome guy was really a fat guy before. Robert replied that he didn't want to look good, but rather wanted to get back into shape as quickly as possible and go home. Otherwise, he didn't feel safe. They were accepted to the university without the initial exams, but it seems as if John still wants to take the exam. Everyone knows that the most important day for students is the day of the exam. If you pass the exam, you have a chance to get into the best group. Most students pursue one goal: to pass the exam the best of all, because a high score gives not only fame and wealth, but also an A-rank artifact. Michael said that he wanted to pass the exam and definitely become better than the others. He had already heard from his father that this year the reward would be very valuable. The best student would receive a subject rank S. Now John also wants to take first place and does not even suspect that rumors about his strength are spreading very quickly. Many other players already know that he has reached level 10, so opponents are interested in him. Sensing the approach of unknown people, he activated the characteristic analysis skill and asked what they wanted from him. Two guys with the assassin class appeared in front of him. Their names were Christopher and Daniel. They found out that it was he who destroyed Xiao Dong from the dungeon of 10,000 poisons. Maybe these guys came from the same Thomas that Xiao was talking about. He was too excited then, and therefore could not ask her enough questions. So he decided to say now that his name was Michael. Christopher began to apologize to the guy, but Daniel said that he couldn't take his word for it. They are ready to capture him and test whether he really is a wizard, so John must prepare himself. His excellent reflexes helped him dodge their first attack. He doesn't even intend to run away. They immediately felt his protection and strength. Their attacks did not harm his body at all. With a powerful blow, he was able to almost completely destroy Christopher. It was spectacular. Now Daniel no longer wants to fight him. He said that he needs to be able to negotiate, and he admits that he confused him with someone else. Daniel is a member of the organization and ranks quite high in the power ranking and is ready to make friends with John. He is at level 18, but is not the leader of this organization, which already gives a lot of information. John decided to let these guys come back alive and tell the boss about it all. Let's talk about the organization of the Beta. It is associated with a mythical beast that has a snow-white body and also looks like a lion. Beta knows the name, appearance, and spell to exorcise the evil spirits of all demons in the world, so he is worshipped as a magical beast. John has been unable to gather any information about the organization, but he is sure that sooner or later he will find out everything. The only option now is to successfully pass the exam. Even the organization of the Beta will not be able to defeat someone who passes the entrance exam. He will be safe at Kyoto University. The director is the #1 swordsman. He is also known as the God of the Sword. If it's dangerous at this university, then it's dangerous everywhere in the world. John is also interested in the artifact he received in the dungeon. It seems as if someone intentionally gave him this item. But how did this person know that he would protect this dungeon? How could he even leave anything in a copy? While he was trying to piece together the words Xiao Dong, information about the Bida organization, and his parents, even more interesting things were happening. Danielle returned to her boss. They do not know the cause of Xiao's death, and also said that they were brutally beaten by a guy named Michael. Their boss immediately guessed that everything they were saying was nonsense. They were stupid and had to admit it. This woman decided to leave the investigation into Xiao's death for now. The organization's priority is the next operation in the city of Sungai. Let's move to the 4th Academy in the city, or more precisely to the director's office where John came. He asked the director to look at this cube. He got it in the dungeon but can't unlock it. James immediately said that if there is no password, then all that remains is to look for the key to remove the seal. The seal on this cube is not very strong, so it should be easy to open with a key without breaking anything inside. Of course, first you need to find the key, and John doesn't understand how to do that at all. Master James said that we should go to the Mechanical Kingdom, but we should be careful because it is a dungeon with free entry. Free entry means a large number of people who can pose a danger. This city is also called the City of Mechanics. The director told the story of this city. Once upon a time, a war broke out between humans and machines because of the evolution of machines. Shortly thereafter, both sides concluded a truce, and the territory was named the Mechanical Kingdom. The director also said that to get the key, you need to take a hidden task from the mayor of the city, a man named Paul. A scientist wearing glasses and a white coat walked past John. He was thinking about quantum mechanics and didn't notice the two men in front of him. After he encountered them, he immediately began apologizing for his carelessness. These men were hostile and began to demand compensation from him because he had almost broken their ribs. Very quickly, it turned into a real extortion of money. John noticed this and decided to intervene in the situation. He doesn't understand how an old man can be robbed in the middle of the street. He was advised to shut up and leave immediately, unless of course he wanted to end up in the hospital. Any evil will sooner or later have consequences. John has always held this view. He clenched his fist and showed one of these bandits his true strength. The other guy immediately started apologizing to him, as well as to the old man they had offended. After the bandits disappeared, John tried to make sure that this scientist was okay. The old man thought that the boy would also demand money from him, but John replied that he was a completely different person. John just wanted. During the battle, he only demonstrated 10% of his power. These guys that James recently fought know that the mayor was also looking for someone. They remembered the battle with John and admitted that they had never met anyone so strong. There are many interesting characters in the Mechanical Kingdom. A tall man asked his assistant named Brits to bring a scientist named Paul here tomorrow. Brits immediately agreed. He knows he has no right to upset his boss Maunder. The scientist led the boy to a large building and said that the mayor of the city was inside. John found it very strange. Why did the scientist bring an unknown guy here? He wanted to ask this grandfather for help, but he realized that he had already gone somewhere. After that, the boy opened the door and remembered that now he wants to talk about his research in the field of machines and organics. There are robots who want to steal his research results. They won't miss this opportunity. The mayor doesn't need additional protection. He wants John to defeat the boss of these machines and destroy his mechanical heart. This is the hidden mission of this dungeon, to defeat Maunder to obtain the key to remove the seal. The next day, this big event started, and many people gathered to hear about the development of technology. Nature fed man, but he abandoned it, as a result of which computers and artificial systems became on the same level as humans. Artificial intelligence was created to find answers to a large number of questions. But even if artificial intelligence can pass the Turing test, it still cannot be considered new life. Robots still cannot reproduce like living beings, although they have their own consciousness. John was at this event and almost fell asleep. These stories about organics are too boring. He was waiting for his rivals to appear and hoped to finally throw a real party. Soon the event he had been waiting for so long finally happened. The enemies appeared. This is the same man named Brits. He came to make the professor leave this fragile human shell and join the machines. Panic broke out and most people ran outside, and soon a large number of security guards appeared. Roboto immediately said that he had no place here at all and that he should go back to where he came from. The guards and security must have underestimated this man, although it is unclear how much of him is a man and how much is a robot. In any case, this Terminator instantly approached the guard and delivered a powerful blow. After that, he turned his attention to the other guards and began beating them like little children. It was noticeable that he was enjoying his advantage. This was too much of a show of disrespect. The mayor of the city turned to the boy and said that the robot had come for him, so he better go to the kingdom of machines. Brits continued to enjoy the strength of his body like a little child who got a new toy. A little later, the main robot, called the Maunder, finally appeared. The mayor asked the robots to stop, and in that case, he would be willing to go with them. But Maunder replied that they should have asked for this earlier. Now they are no longer ready for dialogue, because they came to act. Within seconds, Maunder took the mayor with him, but it seems like this is all John and Paul's plan. The Terminator still stayed to fight a little. He couldn't calm down. John approached him and said he wanted to test his invincible body and feel his strength. Brits believes that human slugs cannot understand the full power and superiority of robots, and that is their problem. John asked him to finally shut up and get down to business. Maybe he wants to join the robots too? While Brits was smiling, John took action, and with his first blow took away 300 health points from his opponent. This Terminator had never felt such power before. He believed that only robots were capable of this. Of course, he is shocked that a human was able to penetrate his mechanized body. He doesn't understand how a mortal body can be so powerful. Maybe John is an ancient sacred body. Now it's time to put this robot in its place a little and show its true level. If the Terminator doesn't want to be turned into scrap metal, he must flee immediately. With the help of Brits, you can find his boss. John understood this immediately. He knows that the mayor was captured on purpose. It seems he wanted to take John to the kingdom so that he could destroy the mechanical heart. The guy is sure that he will destroy the main robot, save the mayor of the city, and get the desired key. Maunder had already returned to the mechanical kingdom with Paul. He feels sorry that the professor found himself here in such unpleasant circumstances. Paul replied that he was not going to betray humanity and make an alliance with the machines, even if it cost him his own life. Maunder remained calm and asked the professor to look at something interesting first. He showed him a mechanical heart that is becoming more and more organic. It has human spirituality and mechanical power, so it can't be called a robot. Ordinary people are mortal, but machines can live forever, so the professor is obliged to join the evolution. But this old man can't understand at all how one can voluntarily join the robots. Soon Maunder pressed the button and people appeared on the mountain. They were all wounded and begged. He believes that they do not have a real heart. Maunder told the old man that his anger would accomplish nothing. This mechanical heart is called Marta, and it's actually a failure of the robots because they wanted Marta to grow organically, but things didn't go according to plan. They didn't even understand how they created a real monster that takes lives and constantly increases its appetite. Previously, the mechanical heart would eat one person a day, but now it eats 5 times that, so they want to solve that problem. The professor is obliged many strengths, but John doesn't care because he wants to turn on Hulk mode. The robot boss had several guards left, and they decided to attack this person at the same time. Using his strength, it will be the strongest warrior in the world. Soon, John found the professor and made sure that everything was fine with him. The professor told him about the mechanical heart of Mars. This heart is at level 15 and uses people to gain strength. John knows he must destroy this heart and he will definitely do it. Now everything depends on him. Maunder also understands that the situation is critical. He must defeat the ancient sacred body at all costs. But how to do it? He wants to persuade John to give up his sweet body and join the force of evolution. But John isn't even going to talk to him. He knows that his main task is to destroy the heart. The guy doesn't care about anything else. His first powerful blow took away more than 400 health points from March. Maunder began to beg the boy to stop. He could not watch as the mechanical heart approached death step by step. Suddenly, the system started reporting that a danger had been detected, an extreme level of danger. The system began asking everyone around to get out of the way, but of course no one listened to it, and the battle continued. Maunder also missed a powerful blow from the John, but he still has a lot of health. Under the mask of this thief is the face of a man. He is satisfied and wants to take this boy's power for himself. John doesn't pay attention to him. He's currently focused on completing a covert mission. He began, almost without stopping the circle, to inflict powerful blows on the mechanical heart. It was soon destroyed, for which he received 100 experience points and 3 stat points. Maunder completely lost his mind with anger. He could not believe that his invention had been destroyed. He always dreamed that machines would be able to surpass humans and achieve incredible feats, but now all his work has been destroyed. John doesn't understand. Maunder looks like a human but calls himself a robot. Maybe he should be destroyed too. At this point, the boss of the machine stopped and asked John to listen to him because he had something to say. Compared to the power of the Queen, John's power is too small. But even though he destroyed March, the Queen still isn't angry with him. She is ready to give him a chance to correct his mistakes. If John goes with Maunder, then everything will be forgiven him. The guy was surprised to hear these words. He thought that Maunder was the boss of the machines, but it turns out that there is some kind of queen. The professor immediately intervened in the conversation, asking the boy not to agree to these stupid conditions. But he need not worry. John is not at all interested in this mechanical reunion. He is happy with his body. Maunder is sure that John will change his mind when he sees the queen's power. He will want to become a part of this world. John decided to go with this thief and look at the queen. He must have become curious. The journey didn't take long. It seemed like the queen was nearby the whole time. John didn't notice how a mechanical beetle got on his neck. It is capable of transforming a person into a robot, step by step. Maunder knows that if he can turn this boy into a robot, the queen will surely reward him. But from the very beginning, everything did not go according to this thief's plan, because John felt this insect on his body. He had guessed that bad guys couldn't be trusted, but now he had confirmation of his thoughts. After that, he's not going to talk to anyone. It's time for a classic fistfight. Maunder is a fairly strong level 15 opponent. It won't be easy with him. Of course, he still tries to avoid a fight and continues to convince the guy to have a meeting with the queen. John began to smile. He hoped that a fight would begin now. Maunder must be afraid of him. The guy guessed that the queen was somewhere nearby. If that was really the case, then he wanted to go to her alone. Maunder can bring the queen individual body parts of this guy. She can still make a mechanical body out of him. That's why there's no point in talking to John. Now Maunder has decided to kill the guy with a mechanical fist. 2 incredible forces met in this room, and if you miss such blows, you can immediately book a place in heaven. It turned out that John does not feel any danger from this robot at all. He is already on another level. Even a huge mechanical fist, which has incredible properties, does not threaten his body. He previously had problems with his health indicators, but now he has made serious progress. Maunder can't even move. Everything is happening so fast that it's almost impossible for John to keep up. This beating was hard to watch. There is no intrigue here, because the winner is known from the very beginning. Realizing that he had almost lost, Maunder decided to use his last weapon. He admits that he underestimated the guy, but now he is ready to risk his own life. He respects the power of the ancient sacred body, but is confident that robots are the next step in evolution. Maunder's true form is terrifying. Even in hell, John wouldn't want to be part of a mechanical rebirth. And now we will see the second round of this fierce confrontation. Maunder is confident that with the help of a mechanical body, he will be able to show much better results. When intrigue appears in a battle, it becomes much more interesting to watch, but this time the intrigue failed again. Very quickly, John defeated the NPC Maunder, received 15 attribute points and 75 experience points, and is now an entry-level sorcerer. John is at level 11, has a high mana pool, but still not the best defense. Finally, he received the desired item. The mission was successfully completed. The key to the seal is in his hands. But John is still in no hurry to return home, where he decided to meet the queen. The problem is that he killed Maunder, and only this man knew the password to the queen's room. Soon he decided to open the door in the classic way, as if by force you can get anything in this world. The queen remained calm. She could not understand why John, having killed Maunder, decided to come to her anyway. John believed that Maunder had been holding the queen hostage all this time. Perhaps she needed help. She immediately realized that this guy was from a completely different world. He was too strange. She said that she is called the Mechanical Queen, although from the outside she does not look like a robot at all. This beautiful girl is at level 48 and has incredible health indicators. A very large number of its characteristics are hidden, so you cannot underestimate this opponent. With this health indicator, she can become a level A dungeon boss. Realizing this, John apologized for interfering and said he had chosen the wrong door. He tried to quickly escape, but the Mechanical Queen realized what was happening and grabbed him. Her iron chains are incredibly strong. John cannot turn around and escape from her embrace. She assured him that she didn't intend to insult the guy, but just wanted to check something. With the help of her system, she can see a person's past and all their knowledge. She was interested in observing the outside world through John's memories. The queen decided to be frank and said that she had always suspected that this world was unreal. This virtual world was called a dungeon, but soon it will be restarted and everything will return to its original state. She is sure that there are a large number of bugs in this world. This world has been updated thousands of times. After many restarts, John is the first person to come to her, so she will never turn down such an opportunity. John believed that she had read his memories, but the queen replied that she had taken them. His memories now belonged to her. It all became clear to him immediately. It was no wonder why she, a rank D dungeon boss, had such high stats. He understood that she wanted to get out of here, but to do that she would have to kill him. The guy decided to be a little modest there and said that he was just a level 11 loser who couldn't fight the rules of the outside world. The Mechanical Queen replied that it was not necessary to fight and then started doing some strange things. She literally ripped her heart out of her chest and said they could play by the rules of the outside world. The Mechanical Queen's heart is an S-rank item. You could say it's a mechanical living creature. She gave her heart to the boy and said that soon this object would turn into another Mechanical Queen. When the transformation process is complete, a clone will appear within her that is able to interact with the outside world. John can't understand how she isn't afraid he'll betray her, but she explains that she hasn't found a single memory of him breaking his promise. She wants to see the outside world with her own eyes. John sees an NPC for the first time trying to escape from the dungeon. She waits for an answer from him, but he realizes that he has no choice but to agree. After these words, the queen smiled and said that now he could go. The system immediately notified player John of the victory over the Mechanical Queen. The mission completed. In addition to additional characteristics and shaping techniques, John received a C-rank item, Mechanical Brass Knuckles. This item adds critical damage on hit, which will prove to be very useful in the future. After that, the boy immediately decided to return to the director to try to open the magic cube. He hoped that everything would go very quickly and he would finally find out what was inside the artifact. But it turned out that the director was absent. John has the seal key and the cube, so in theory he can open the artifact without the director's help. The guy decided that there was nothing wrong with this and he was sure that everything would go according to plan. It turned out that this cube contained a weapon of growth, a very powerful object. John couldn't understand why he had to get this particular item. It didn't even have any stats, so he didn't know how to improve it. He raised this spear above his head and felt the incredible energy of the weapon. At this moment, the director entered the room, and it seemed that he was very excited. He started yelling at the guy and asked him not to touch the weapon. John had to run to the exam room quickly, otherwise everything would start without him. Because of all these trials and missions, John completely forgot about the exam. This may cost him the opportunity to study at the capital's university, but this is unacceptable. Almost everyone was ready for the exam to begin, especially the students of the First Academy. Robert was also there. He asked the teacher not to rush and said that not everyone had arrived yet. The students of the First Academy always treat the students of the Fourth Academy badly. They believe that the students studying there are mentally retarded. Over the past few days, Robert has returned to his ideal form. Now he feels confident again and will not allow anyone to insult him. The guy with blue hair is called Mark. He is sure that his academy will once again take first place in the number of people who have entered the capital's universities. If this conflict is not stopped, a real battle will soon begin because everyone is determined. The girls had long since started to worry about John. Had he really forgotten about the exam? Mark decided to say a few words. He is sure that today he will put an end to the tales about the best academy. Mark knows that he has only one rival, John, but for some reason this rival has not yet arrived. John was very lucky that the principal reminded him about the exam. He had to turn on Sonic mode to be on time. University representatives were already preparing to start, but decided to give John a chance to catch up. If he doesn't come in a few minutes, it will be too late, and then no one will help him. But everything turned out well. John made it and said he was ready to show who's daddy here. His friends were happy to see him. Even Michael was pleased that his most principled rival had come. Mark said he can't wait to beat this bunch of fools and take first place in the rankings. At first, John didn't understand who these idiots were, but his friend Robert explained that they were guys from the First Academy. It's hard to believe that the students of the First Academy are so self-confident. John hopes that they will behave the same way during the battle. His words made Mark very angry. It seemed to him that the guy from the Fourth Academy was talking too much. He was already preparing to fight him. But at that moment, another representative of the First Academy intervened. He reminded them that their goal was to take first place in the exam, so there was no need to waste unnecessary time on conflicts with others. Soon the teachers asked the students to get ready and said that the big exam was beginning. The chief examiner at this event will be George, a fairly respected person in the world. He said that he wasn't going to talk for long and immediately got to the point. For winning a round, a student receives 2 points, and if they lose 1 point. After 9 rounds, the 10 students with the highest scores will battle it out in the arena for first place. After the students confirmed that they understood everything, George officially declared the exam in Suna City open. According to rumors, this exam will use the rules of the dueling field. Health can be lost up to 1%, but the student will not die. John liked these rumors, which means he cannot be afraid for his health and act very actively. The winner of the last exam, Kenneth, is also here. He came to look at the young talents. He was a student at the First Academy and is confident that the guys from this academy will take first place again. It turned out that in the first round, John would have to fight against the same guy named Mark. They were both ready to start a fight and destroy each other. But the judge asked both sides to introduce themselves. Still, rules are rules. So Mark said that he was a student of the First Academy, had a 9th level, and was a Thunder Wizard. John said that he is a student of the Fourth Academy, is at level 11, and is also a beginner-level Necromancer. Upon hearing that his opponent was a Necromancer, Mark immediately began to worry and sweat. Even the teachers were shocked that the Necromancer had reached the entry level before the exam, so this guy was really a contender for first place. After the introductions were complete, the judge announced that they could begin the battle. Mark tried to forget about his opponent's strengths, because he was sure that the sorcerer's power was always stronger than the undead. Even though he's a rookie, he already knows how to use the Thunder Barrier and is confident that it will be enough to win. John calmly observed his opponent's actions and was in no hurry to respond. The atmosphere in the arena was quite tense. It's the first fight, so everyone wants to see some blood. Many people know that becoming a Thunder Wizard is almost impossible. It's almost like a hidden class. The Thunder Wizard is considered the most dangerous of the elemental wizards, but it seems as if the Mark only uses defense and doesn't think about attack. The thing is probably that this guy wants the Necromancer to attack him first and show his weaknesses. But Mark can't understand why John hasn't even taken out his wand. It seems like he doesn't want to fight at all. The elders know that Director James recommended John to Kyoto University, but so far they are not impressed with this guy. They think he is too raw, even though he is superior to his equals, but his undead will not be able to defeat the power of thunder. The director asked everyone to calm down. You said John wasn't going to rush things too much. Everyone is curious to see how it will end. The confrontation of a necromancer with thunder magic is always exciting. John continued to follow his plan, but he was not going to take any active action yet. A little later, he decided that he was no longer going to stand still and went forward, even despite the loss of health. Everyone expected it to cause a runny nose, but it didn't happen and it went everywhere. Mark looked at him and couldn't understand what kind of monster was standing in front of him. Was it really a human? The audience was also shocked. When you have 2 wizards in front of you, you expect a battle of spells, not close combat. For the first round, John decided to use mechanical brass knuckles. We will finally see this item in battle. At the last moment, Mark tried to stop his opponent, but John didn't want to hear anything anymore. His blow was incredibly powerful. It's not at all clear how one can survive after such a blow. Mark has lost almost all of his health. He only has 1 point left. Now Mark must remember that he owes his life to John, because if it weren't for the rules, he would already be dead. The audience thought they were sleeping. The Necromancer physically destroyed the Thunder Sorcerer. It's even hard to imagine. Now everyone perceived Director James's words in a completely different way, because what they saw was truly shocking content. No one had ever heard of students being able to take away more than 1,000 health points with a single blow. It's hard to even call such a student a Necromancer. Director James smiled and replied that the Necromancer was stronger, and that there should be no problem. Even Kenneth was surprised to see that the Necromancer was capable of such a thing. His martial arts were truly impressive. The students of the First Academy began to panic when they saw that Mark had lost. and immediately ran to tell the best of them about it. Donald remained calm. He admitted that John was a very strong opponent, but he had to be destroyed somehow. He is sure that the best result should only be in the First Academy, and they must give everything they have to achieve this. John continued to enjoy his victory, pleased that he did it in front of a large audience. But soon he was surrounded by unknown people. He impressed everyone so much that the judges suspected him of fraud. He was told that they had to test his abilities, which is strange, but these are the rules of the game. He must explain how a sorcerer can be so powerful. John tried to say that he had been practicing martial arts since childhood and was also born with divine power, but no one wanted to listen to him. The examiners took him away for testing, but the principal is sure that his student is not a cheater. Now even Mark has started to think about it. He believes that John could have been doping while still in the dungeon. The students of the First Academy enjoyed themselves. They are sure that now they will have fewer competitors. But Robert will believe in his best friend to the end. He is sure that John will return and put everyone else in their place. But in order to return, you need to pass a test and confirm your qualifications. The boy was led to some strange device and ordered to go inside. James remained calm. He said that there was no problem with this and reminded that geniuses are very often not accepted by society. Within a few minutes, the system confirmed that it found nothing unusual about this guy's characteristics. The examiners ordered me to retake the test, but the result was the same. Because of this, they started checking the car, because they began to believe that it might be broken. It was quickly discovered that there were no problems with the car, so they have to admit that this young guy is really capable of dealing over 1,000 critical damage with a single hit. No one has ever seen the sorcerer fight in close combat. All that remains is to check his blood test. Maybe he was taking doping. While the blood test was continuing, the second round began. The students of the First Academy were sure that John would not return. As soon as the time for the fight was over, he would automatically be considered defeated. His opponent was already ready to win by technical defeat and would have been happy to get such a result. Viewers were excited. If John didn't return, it would be confirmation that he was a fraud. After the blood test, the guy was forced to take a urine test, and the expert went with him because he had to monitor the entire process. John decided to scare this guy a little and remind him who is the strongest here. The expert replied that they had all undergone professional training, so nothing would scare them. Within a few minutes, the tests were ready, and it turned out that John had not taken any banned drugs. The chief examiner had no choice but to allow this student to continue the exam. Examiner George was surprised when he realized it was David's son. What a surprise. It's always interesting to watch a sorcerer who has an attack power of over 500 points. This guy probably has many more surprises in store. The students of the Fourth Academy began to worry that if John did not return soon, he would be considered defeated. Of course, this completely satisfies the students of the First Academy, and this is exactly what they are waiting for. It has already become known that experts began an investigation after receiving a complaint from unknown students, and it is not difficult to guess who did it. The students of the First Academy said that there was no doubt that John was doping, because otherwise he would not have been able to show such results. Robert is ready to defend his friend to the death. He is sure that John did not deceive anyone. Mark doesn't care at all. Even if John isn't disqualified, he'll still take home the grand prize. It was at this moment that everyone saw that John was returning, so he was allowed to take the exam. The guy looks very confident and ready to make his opponent suffer. Viewers were shocked that he was actually back, meaning he is indeed a very powerful and mighty necromancer. The students of the First Academy were most upset. Their plan had completely failed. Opponent John said he wasn't going to give his name because John didn't necessarily need to know it. He took out a white flag and immediately admitted that he was not going to fight and accepted his defeat. This guy doesn't want to get all his bones broken, and he saw what happened to his past opponent John, so he doesn't want to repeat his story. The examiner had no choice but to declare the Fourth Academy a technical victory. John has already won 2 battles in a row and scored 5 points, although of course he is hardly satisfied because he wanted to warm up a bit. There are problems in the First Academy camp. They already know that the Necromancer has returned. Now they need to come up with a new plan. Donald said that all this was done just to make John tense up. It was already clear to everyone that he was not a fraud. Don't worry, there are still many ways to stop this monster, so no one will be able to take away the victory in the First Academy. Soon, a new battle began, this being the 3rd round of the exam. The result was the same as last time. The opponent went out and admitted defeat. Now John was really starting to get angry. He was expecting a tough battle, but it turned out that his rivals had no pride at all. The other students probably don't care what the audience thinks of them. These guys are only worried about their own health, and that's why they give up. This went on and on. The eighth round ended the same way as the previous one. At first, John constantly shouted at them and forced them to fight, but then he admitted that he was powerless. The Necromancer has already won 8 fights in a row, and he may soon set a new exam record. Donald turned to his assistant and ordered him to arrange for a student from the second academy named Lola to fight John. This is a big fight, so everything will depend on her. If she wants to get a good result, she will have to make every effort. The negotiations ended in agreement, so the ninth round began with a battle between John and Lola. Only a dead man is in love with this girl. Some are even ready to give their lives to get her phone number. Soon all the preparations were completed. Everyone was eagerly waiting for this battle. Lola is a level 11 ice wizard from the second academy. She looks pretty confident. Everyone knows that she is the best student in her academy. Anyone who fights with her should prepare for serious problems. Of course, everyone hopes that at least she can beat John, and Lola is ready to do it. She took out her wand and prepared for battle, although all the while John expected her to admit defeat as well. In any case, he is happy that he can finally demonstrate his strength again. Everyone was excited. John wants to use the same method as in the first round, but it is unlikely to work on Lola. During this battle, everyone around him is rooting for him, probably because everyone is in love with his rival. John decided that for the sake of such a beautiful woman, he should get his new item, the spear he took out of the cube. No one has ever seen such a strange necromancer. He is not at all like the typical representatives of his class. Because of this, it is difficult to expect clear actions from him, because he acts unconventionally, not according to the rules. Seeing the opponent approaching, Lola immediately activated the ice wall technique. For now, she plans to defend herself and see what this necromancer is capable of. John believes that no barrier in the world can stop him. He is sure that the ice wall will be melted by his fiery power. Lola hopes she can keep the guy at a distance, but it will take a lot of energy. As soon as he left the ground, the girl immediately prepared to attack. She is sure that John is too self-confident, and his winning streak will end now. Of course, you expect constant ice magic from an ice wizard, and that's exactly what happened, and it seems like John has a problem. Fans were delighted. Their favorite student demonstrated her incredible potential. She froze her opponent, took no damage, and lived up to her incredible reputation, but Director James is sure this isn't the end. Lola hoped that this would be enough to win, but according to the rules of the exam, she would only win when John's health dropped to 1 point. With every second, his health gets less and less, but he is still alive. Soon his head was able to break through the ice barrier, a little more, and he would be completely freed from this ice prison. Lola asked him to admit defeat. At this rate of health loss, his rating would soon drop to 1. She continued to do everything she could to keep him from escaping this icy prison. The girl probably doesn't understand that because she uses this skill, her mana supply is greatly reduced. She couldn't understand why the boy's health continued to be stable. Soon he said he was tired of playing games and wanted to show his true strength. Lola definitely didn't expect this. She was already celebrating her victory when she suddenly realized that this was just the beginning. She spent a lot of energy restraining her opponent, but now she will have to demonstrate all her skills again. With the first blow, John was able to take away 260 health points from her, a fairly powerful attack. Her fans didn't lose their minds when they saw this. They realized that this guy was not going to be a true gentleman. He asked the audience not to judge him and reminded them that this was just a test, so girls could be beaten, and beaten hard. Soon the round was over. John had won another convincing victory, although this time not without problems. The examiners and elders were shocked. Only Director James smiled and said that this was exactly what he expected from his student. Everyone around him was starting to hate this guy. It seemed like he was insulting the wizarding class with his very existence. He can't understand why he is treated so badly. Can't a sorcerer who develops physical strength remain a sorcerer? The First Academy has already learned that even Lola lost the battle to this monster. John is already in the finals, so he must be stopped immediately. Donald was upset and said that all the students of the Second Academy were trash. Now he has no doubt that he will have to act personally. In the waiting room of the Second Academy, Lola tried to regain her strength. Her teacher said that Lola wasn't supposed to fight John from the start, so someone replaced her opponent. This was probably done to prevent her from reaching the finals or to stop John. The girl decided that she had to tell him about it, even though he had been her rival a few minutes ago. John was surprised to hear that someone was trying to make his life difficult, but on the other hand, it had already become an obvious fact. He assured that in the final he would not leave his opponent any chance and no one would be able to stop him. Soon the arena was ready for the final fight to begin. The audience excited and the atmosphere electrified. Finalists must be 100% ready to take first place. The competition this year is incredible. Let us remind you that the top 10 players will fight in the finals. The last one remaining in the arena will be the winner. Of course, they have a romance and are now considered the favorite. After his winning streak, everyone realized that he would be almost impossible to stop. John knows that a dirty game is being played against him, but it doesn't bother him much because now he's going to put everything in its place. He decided to take a step forward and enter the arena first. Does John really want to fight 1 against 9? He didn't have to wait long for his next opponent. There are enough brave men here who are ready to challenge death. Only a true genius can get the title of the best in the exam. And the guy called Hulk is sure that he will be #1. He was going to talk about his strength for a long time, but immediately lost most of his health. This fool probably didn't watch John's fight in the past rounds, otherwise he would know that this guy is not to be messed with. The next opponents came out one after another, but they were very quickly carried out of the arena and taken to the hospital. None of them could withstand the tension and this strength. Their opponent today is too strong. John is looking forward to fighting the one who has been trying to make his life difficult all this time. This revenge will be very sweet. Finally, Donald appeared. He decided to start the dialogue with a proposal and offered 5 million for John to admit defeat. He learned that John was an orphan, and apart from the old house his parents left him, he had nothing. 5 million would be enough to live on for the rest of his life. But this offer alone was enough to drive John mad with anger. His lifelong dream was to win the grand prize in this exam. Maria can't be worth 5 million. She's worth much more. Donald admits that John is worth much more, but wants to know exactly what price this guy wants. John replied that 100 million would be enough, although of course if he was offered 10 billion, he wouldn't refuse either. Of course, Donald is not ready to offer 100 million. This amount is astronomical, so the negotiations are over. Jones guessed that this was the same thief who had been trying to make his life difficult all this time. Donald from the First Academy is a junior shadow wizard. It's unlikely he'll be easy to fight. He knows how to use dark magic and create real hell for his enemies. One movement of his hand is enough to make a weak opponent go crazy and die of fear. He is considered the best student at his academy and a true professional in the world of wizardry. Everyone expected the Necromancer to summon the undead to help, but they should have guessed that this Necromancer was completely different. John drew his weapon and prepared for a hellish showdown. Winner takes all. His first attack missed the target, which surprised the boy, because now he realized that Donald was very strong. The Shadow Sorcerer summoned a demon that is strengthened by a shadow bone. It even sounds creepy. The battle of these titans really deserves your attention. Such a number of special effects is not found even in movies. With his spear, John can break through the shadow bone barrier and get closer to his opponent. After he closes the distance, he always uses his strength to knock out the enemy. But this time he faces real death. So it's important that things aren't so simple. Donald summoned 4 demons to help him, but now only 3 remain. John is confident that he will easily destroy everyone else and take the main reward. Even a shadow servant can't stop this guy from the 4th Academy. You have to admit that John is a real monster. A little later, it turned out that Donald summoned the 4 shadow demons not to win this battle. On the contrary, he only wanted to distract John. But his plan very quickly turned out to be too weak. Now Donald admits that John really turned out to be a very strong opponent in the entire city of Suna. He was the first to defeat the shadow servant. He began to guess that his opponent wanted to attack, but attacking him directly might be too predictable. Surprisingly, Donald does not lose his self-confidence and behaves quite relaxed. He used the shadow clone technique, and now if he harms himself, John will immediately feel it. As soon as Donald stuck the knife into his heart, he felt nothing, and John immediately lost a large amount of health. This shadow technique is only available to ancient masters, but somehow Donald learned about it. He was helped by shadow guards to connect to his opponent's body. Now he controls the initiative of the battle. He suggested that John surrender, but the guy refused the offer so the party would continue. John must immediately find a way out of this situation. It is now obvious that force alone will not win. Some techniques are much more valuable than strength, and what Donald is about to do now is playing outside the rules. At this point, John really started to think about admitting defeat, because he wasn't ready to feel this unbearable pain. Yes, a direct attack is always predictable, but there is no other way out of this situation. Now Donald also feels that he is losing energy, so he also wants to end the fight faster. When the battle is on opposing courses, it is always more interesting for the spectators, especially when the favorite is close to death. John had never felt such a powerful attack. His body was truly on the verge of death. He began to think and guess that any force has limitations, even dark energy. Now he is convinced of his opponent's abilities, and if his calculations are correct, he can still win. Donald doesn't care about rules and laws. He's ready to fight without honor, just to get the prize he dreams of. John sees all his insidious intentions, so he is ready to act preemptively and attack. That now Donald will start defending himself again, and then he will be able to test his theory. That's exactly what happened. Donald activated the shadow barrier in order to stop his opponent's attack. If you hit the right places on the barrier, the protection will not hold and will be broken. And then, the owner of the protection will start to lose health. Shadow Guardian is a powerful skill that helps defend against the attacks of a regular boss, but the power of the John is much stronger than that of the dungeon boss. John feels it's time to end this battle, but Donald is ready for revenge. He decided to resort to an extremely dangerous but effective practice called demon sacrifice. Although John seemed to have the situation under control, now it seems that he may lose the initiative again. In this state, it will be almost impossible for him to defeat Donald, because now it seems as if he has turned into the devil. Only one can become the champion, so they both have to give their all to become the winner. After Donald united with the spirits of evil, he took on their abilities, and this makes him even more dangerous. Now he doesn't rely on martial arts at all, but only on his dark potential. Each of them is doing everything to win. Both have lost a lot of health and strength. In any case, this finale will become legendary. Spectators can be pleased to have come to watch this battle today. No martial arts fan has the right to miss this. It's hard to even believe that these are real sorcerers. It seems like they're ready to rip each other's heads off. Now sorcerers are not what they used to be. Now they are not afraid to demonstrate their close combat skills. Any ordinary warrior would have long since died in battle against such demonic forces. But John is made of different stuff. Any demons have a time limit for use. They cannot be used forever. Realizing that he had little time left, Donald decided to use the shadow-eating technique. The examiner even tried to intervene in this situation. He ordered Donald to immediately stop and not do this. This is what happens when a young guy wants to be a champion too much. He just loses his mind. It has only now been revealed that Donald is Kenneth's brother. He wants to win to show that he is no weaker than his brother. This immediately makes it clear why he is so motivated today, partly because I even want him to win. Using dark magic, he became much stronger and dealt a powerful blow to John. But like a true experienced boxer, John withstood this blow and began to counterattack. Some teachers already wanted to intervene in this situation and stop both of them, but the main examiner ordered not to interfere. He believes that even the strongest warrior in the world cannot stop these two for now. In addition, the examiner understands that such a battle cannot last forever. Both warriors lose an incredible amount of energy every second. In order to maintain the supply of shadow forces, you need to be able to constantly replenish your mana. Without this, Donald will not be able to fight for long. With a well-aimed blow, John managed to break his opponent's dark aura, a big step towards victory. It seemed that now the championship title could be officially awarded to John. But most importantly, the examiner seemed to have lost his mind and started screaming. Something had made him very angry. John couldn't understand what was happening. It seemed to him that he had legally won this fight. What happened next is even difficult to explain. After that, all the boy's memories stop until the moment he opens his eyes. He woke up in a large van with other talented representatives of the 4 academies. At first, he couldn't understand anything. He only guessed that they had fallen into a trap for the best. A woman in a cloak approached him and apologized for having to use cruel methods to invite them here. This can hardly be called an invitation. It is more like physical confinement. No, she assured me that she wouldn't hurt anyone, and she liked John's abilities, which is why she wanted to meet him. It turned out that her name was Catherine, and she was responsible for the Beta district in the city of Suna, as well as the Beta organization. John couldn't believe that the members of this organization were so brazen as to decide to kidnap candidates right during the competition. No one can understand why this was done. In any case, the Beta organization will be destroyed because of such behavior. Catherine started laughing and said that everything would become clear when they arrived at their destination. The main thing was to sit quietly, and then everyone would be safe. But if anyone really decides to try to escape, she will be forced, with tears in her eyes, to destroy them. Great universities need new talented students, and they are no exception. It would be very difficult to conduct the selection on your own, so the Beta works exactly like this, even though it is very cruel. One of the talented students decided to show this woman who's boss, but it turned out that she was the boss. She said that students do not have the right to choose. When they learn about the power of the Beta, they themselves will want to become a member of the university. But if they decide to refuse the offer, something terrible awaits them. Of course, if they don't want to be members of the organization, everyone will die, so they have no choice. Let's go back in time for a while and see what happened in the final moments of the battle for the championship title. It turned out that some members of the Bida organization pretended to be ordinary students in order to get into the competition. When the chief examiner, George, realized that there were rats among them, he immediately ordered security to be tightened. He also took out his weapon and said he would personally protect the children. The examiner doesn't understand why they decided to attack the candidates, but that's not the most important thing right now. The members of the Bida organization proved too strong, even for such an experienced warrior as George. The entire arena was soon destroyed. Only the lucky ones were able to escape in time. Once upon a time, this was an incredibly beautiful area where wonderful competitions were held. But now it's just a pile of stones. The chief examiner was able to escape. Few others were as lucky. He was told that 10 of the main candidates had been kidnapped by an unknown organization. The security guards were unable to protect the students because the attackers were too powerful. Director James soon appeared. He is sure that there is still time to correct the situation. Ordinary organizations would not be able to do something like this. No one has the courage to interfere with the candidates. It soon became clear that students were taken not only from the city of Suna, but also from other cities in the country, probably by one organization. Of course, this information must be carefully verified, but in any case, all candidates must be protected. Now it became clear what happened and how these students ended up in this van. Hulk is confident that even special handcuffs will not be able to restrain his strength. We've already seen how he overestimated his chances and was knocked out in a fight against John. It looks like something similar is happening now. He was shocked to see that John had broken those chains without any effort. He took out his weapon and ordered all the students to prepare to escape. He helped everyone else get out of their handcuffs except for one person. Strange as it may sound, Donald refused to accept help from his rival. There is no time to discuss all these problematic points now. We need to escape immediately. With the help of his spear, John was able to create a way out. Now it's up to the students. Catherine and her assistants sensed something strange was happening and immediately stopped the truck. She doesn't like it when things don't go according to her plan, and in such moments she is ready to punish very cruelly. This is how they met again. But now these talented geniuses are not imprisoned, and there are more of them than members of the Bida organization. Although she admits that the most talented students are gathered here, it will not be so easy for them to escape to freedom. In response, John smiled and said that this matter had been resolved long ago and said goodbye to the lady. At the last moment, Catherine tried to shoot and kill at least one of them. It seems they have all entered the inner world. If we stay and wait here, these geniuses will return with help. This woman now looks very angry, and she now hates John. Let's move to the entrance to the copy. Now all these students are right there. Some are worried that bandits might come after them, but Jones is sure that no one will harm them. They got into a copy of rank E. This place is called the Mountain of Spirits. It is here that the sacrifice, also known as soul translation, originated. In order to transfer a person's soul beyond the boundaries of another world, hidden methods were used. There are a lot of dead people here who want their souls back. It seems that every person in this world has a copy of themselves, but a copy that has lost its soul. The body does not move, probably because something prevents it from doing so. The player's task is to stop the sacrifice. John's friends disappeared. They were probably distributed randomly. For now, he can't move freely, but if he destroys the bell in the hands of the master, maybe everything will change. The guy who was walking with the master saw that John was moving too quickly. He began to panic and scream that they had been deceived, but the master was sure that this could not be the case. Over time, fluff appears on a real corpse, and nails and teeth become longer, as the master told his student many times. The apprentice saw that John had a knife in his hands, but the master didn't believe him at all. The dead man's body couldn't move. Jones guessed that these NPCs were very useful. You need to follow them to get to the temple. The road turned out to be quite long, but finally John arrived at his destination. The master said he had important matters to attend to and left his apprentice to look after the dead body. It was noticeable that this student was very worried and constantly asked John not to do anything. At that moment, someone aggressively opened the temple door and went inside. There were two men, one younger and the other almost an elder. And they approached the boy and started asking him various questions about a man named Arnold. Stephen replied that Arnold was his experienced mentor, and he was probably talking to the pallbearers right now. After that, they continued to ask various questions and try to find out where Master Arnold was now. They were also surprised that death did not cause this body to decay. The temperature was maintained, and the body also did not lose its elasticity. They believed that he died only recently. Stephen asked them to behave more respectfully towards the dead. Everyone knows that you can't provoke the dead, because in that case something bad could happen. Bond doesn't believe in all these tales. He believes that if a dead body tries to harm him, he will tear it to pieces. Stephen doesn't like all this behavior. He's a well-mannered person who doesn't like arrogance. Old man Liam couldn't take his eyes off John. He said that if you sell such a beautiful corpse, you can make a lot of money. After that, he asked the pontiff to take the body. Now it would belong to them. With his last strength, Stephen tried to stop them. He was not going to give up his property and warned that his mentor might punish him for it. Bond approached the boy and immediately showed what strength means. In this world, it is of decisive importance. Stephen warned this bodybuilder that if he took another step forward, a fight would break out. It's hard to watch a good guy who tries to follow the rules get beaten up so brutally. Against us, a strong opponent, he has almost no chance, so the result is quite obvious. It was at this point that John decided to intervene in the situation and no longer try to pretend he was dead. He doesn't like injustice, which is why he decided to act aggressively and rely on his intuition. Of course, everyone around was shocked. Usually dead people stay dead. John didn't want to show that he was alive, but he had to hurry to the Mountain of Links, and to do that, he had to remove everything that was in his way. Master Liam was frightened when he saw this demon and began to use various tricks. Of course they helped him. Now he will know that it's better not to joke with the dead. They guessed that they were not fighting a dead body but a living person. But right now it didn't matter much. Bond is ready to protect his master all his life and will not allow anyone to insult him. He struck a powerful blow at John, but even that was enough to rip his head off. John is in a dead body state, for which he received 20 defense points, as well as various additional characteristics. In the state of a dead body, the player cannot restore health and mana. Now it is not surprising that he is under the control of the Bellmaster Arnold. So far, he has no problems with health and mana reserves, although this feature should not be forgotten. The battle with these two robbers continued. Now John must destroy them and do it quickly. Bond hoped that his teacher would help him win, but it turned out that the teacher was going to escape. Of course, they both deserve punishment, so John can't let this old man escape. He attacked him with his spear and sent him to hell. And now, there is definitely a dead body in this room. Now it's time to punish another thief, although he's probably already wet his pants from fear. For these two punishments, John immediately gained a lot of stat points and experience. After that, he approached a large chest, which turned out to be a coffin for a dead body. As soon as a person lies down in this coffin, their body immediately feels an additional impact. And it seems that Linda knows about it. It turned out that even in the image he recognized her, although of course she looks better in real life. The girl can't even remember how she ended up in this place. Probably all 10 people who ended up in this world are dead. Seeing another dead spirit, Stephen became even more scared. Now he is close to losing consciousness due to fear. John turned to this guy and said that they had to get to Mount Linshu and he had to take them there. It turned out that Stephen was going to go to this mountain with his master. Arnold returned very timely. They informed him of the whole situation and agreed to help the two dead bodies. There will be many difficult situations on the way to the mountain of Linshu, but they must go and act as a real team. Arnold wants to return the deceased to the path of rebirth and restore order to the world. Linda and John have lost track of the situation, but they don't really care. When they reached the village, the master handed the bell to the apprentice and asked him to take care of the dead. With this bell, you can control their bodies, so for now, all the dead obey this item. Soon, 10 brilliant disciples met, all of them dead in this spirit world. Seeing that all the spirits had returned to life, Stephen began to think that he had lost his mind. Not far from this temple, the craftsmen met and prepared to begin the process. This is their 5th outing, and they have no room for error. Everything is ready for a new outing. The elders waited for the full moon, then, together with the dead souls, set off on their journey. Soon they found themselves in the Imperial Mausoleum, a very spacious and beautiful place. They planned to go even further, but the headmaster said that their journey ended there. Arnold began to visibly panic. It was immediately apparent that something had gone wrong. The chief sage, the master Luton, fell to his knees and began to summon the Lord of Darkness. All the other masters couldn't understand what he was doing. They hadn't agreed on anything like that. A little later, they realized that something very subtle was happening and tried to escape from this imperial mausoleum. But it turned out that they were already surrounded by monsters and now they had nowhere to run. These dead bodies are very strong and aggressive. Now it's clear what the Lutan was up to. The students saw that the masters were having problems, but they had not yet decided what to do. The main task of this mission is to stop the process of rebirth, so this is the same Heavenly Emperor. John ordered all his friends to act immediately and do everything to complete the mission. For each monster killed, players will receive 5 points. Master Luton is confident that everything is going according to his plan. The 9 families of the Ming dynasty have almost returned to life. He is happy to watch as his master begins the process of rebirth. With the right spells, this process will be difficult to stop, but players must complete this mission or they will not get out of here. Because John is in a dead body, his movements are quite slow compared to his normal state. It soon became clear that Master Lutan was also ready to fight against John and his friends, and this sorcerer was very powerful. He turned to his lord and asked to give him even more soldiers to defeat his rivals. Thus, another 10,000 hidden corpses appeared in this world, but this is too much. It will be almost impossible to stop so many opponents. Strength alone will not be enough. Lutan assured his rivals that they would make a fine dinner for the Lord. The players are here to stop the rebirth, but to do so, they need to be freed from their limitations. It turned out that as soon as the first rays of the sun appeared, it would be too late. Such are the rules. If this Dark Lord really comes back to life, then not only they, but also all other people on Earth will die. Arnold is ready to give John the opportunity to help. Now the main thing is to prevent the return of the Dark Lord. With the help of witchcraft, he can help the boy escape the restrictions and curse. Within seconds, the seal was activated and now John can feel normal again. Now Arnold can be sure that everything will be fine, because if John started it, then there will be no return of the Dark Lord. The seal has been activated on other warriors as well. Now they can all fully utilize their powers. Their task is to completely destroy the Lutan, because it is he who is the main threat. But it turned out that this sage had already absorbed the blood, so it was too late to stop him. The transformation process has begun. Future generations must sacrifice themselves for the sake of the Heavenly Emperor. The resurrection of the Emperor was successful. Now the system should give players a new task. Now the players must destroy the demon, which will not be easy to do because he is at level D. This is an epic level boss. It is at level 20 and has incredible strength indicators, over 4,000. His skills are the poison of a dead body and the pressure of a demon. Even the bravest warriors begin to fear when they see him. Not only does it have incredible characteristics, but it also looks like a true universal evil. The psyche of a normal person cannot cope with such pressure, and therefore some players begin to run away. John couldn't understand why this guy was trying to escape. If they acted as a team, they could defeat any demon. But as we got closer to the John, it turned out that up close it looked much bigger. John immediately met him with a very powerful punch to the face. The demon did not expect such an encounter in the real world. He probably thought that he would immediately start being idolized and worshipped, but it turned out to be quite the opposite. That is why he prepared to use his strong point, the poison of a dead body. If you breathe this poison for a long time, it will become so painful that you can swallow your tongue. John is very lucky that he is not going through this task alone, but with the most talented students of the city of Suna. He was immediately helped by Lola, who activated the power of ice and was able to freeze the poison and the monster for a while. Mary also decided not to stand aside and restore her friend to health. The demon quickly destroyed the ice barrier and returned to the game, and players must figure out a way to defeat him. We all remember how self-confident the Hulk is. He never loses confidence in his invincibility. His first attack took a small amount of health from his opponent, but it was brave. Unfortunately, the Hulk quickly regretted his action, as he soon felt the pressure of a dead body on him. Under the influence of this skill, the value of all the player's characteristics is halved. So John's health indicators have also decreased. Now it is clear why this task received a difficulty level of D. After reducing the characteristics, the Hulk cannot fight at full power. They must unite. Only if they work as a true Avengers team will they have a chance to win. Even the Avengers team must have its own Captain America, or Iron Man. That is, a leader who will take the initiative and move forward. John turned out to be such a leader. Even after reducing his characteristics, he took 400 health points from his opponent. Of course, he knows how to use his strength, but without the help of others, it is impossible to defeat such a serious opponent. No one but John can fight the demon on equal terms. They have to invent something. John noticed that Donald had not been participating in the battle all this time, so he probably needed to be involved somehow. The demon began to attack Donald, in which case the guy had no choice but to use his power. It's always interesting to watch dark energy fight against dark energy, a battle of pure evil unfolding before our eyes. Donald tried to activate the shadow sacrifice technique, but missed the right hook. If no one helps him now, he will completely lose his health and die. That's why John asked everyone to unite and help each other. Lola can activate the cruel ice technique, which can be used to freeze an opponent and make them suffer from the cold. Also, don't forget about the sand attack that fat man Robert can organize. He hasn't eaten any nuggets yet today, so he's very angry. The dual effect of these two techniques may make the monster calm down for a while, but it is unlikely to be enough for a complete victory. His friend's mana began to run out. Sensing that they wouldn't last long, John also joined the battle. He used a critical damage technique and took 400 health points from the demon. If John could keep fighting without regenerating, he would easily defeat this monster. Arnold watched this battle and reported that John would not be able to kill the demon, so he was ready to come to the rescue. This old man underestimated John's capabilities, and anyone who underestimates this guy later realizes they were wrong. Soon, the system congratulated John on successfully killing the demon and passing through the mysterious realm. For this success, he will receive 50 experience points and 5 attribute points, and it will also affect his stamina and health. Surprisingly, Arnold was in no hurry to celebrate the victory. He said that whoever kills the boss will be cursed. At first, it seemed like it was just Grandpa's fairy tales. Maybe he forgot to take his memory pills, but then it turned out he was right. The system reported that in 30 days, player John would be cursed and die. The guy is not going to end his life so early. He hopes that the master will help him avoid punishment. But Arnold does not know what to do. Historical records say that there is no one who was cursed and was able to survive. John hopes that the university will find an opportunity to help him. Because of all these curses, John completely forgot to take the soul heart from the monster, and Donald took advantage of this opportunity. An item called the Demon Ring fell from the monster's soul. It takes away 50% of the opponent's agility for 10 seconds. This ring can be used every 20 seconds and does not require a special class to use. Robert tried to stop Donald and said that he had done nothing to kill the boss, but the teleportation process had already started. Donald doesn't want to listen to others, but only thinks about personal gain. This is unforgivable. Robert feels an incredible call to restore justice, which is why he activated the sand chains to stop the crook. It will be difficult to defeat Donald with this ring, because even without this artifact, he was incredibly strong. All players lost stamina and energy during the battle with the demon. They need to regain their strength, but there is no time for this. The ring takes away the opponent's agility, but it turned out that John has no agility at all, so the ring took away almost nothing. Donald behaved like a real pig, for which he should be punished, for example, with a punch in the jaw. The demon ring could not help him in this situation, so he has almost no chance in the battle against John. Even after the battle with the demon, which took a lot of energy, John still remains ready for new battles. Donald knows that this is not an arena for an exam. There are no judges or examiners here, so you can fight without rules. Because of his arrogance, he forgot that he was fighting not only against John, but also against other people who supported this guy. Lola quickly intervened and activated ice techniques, which delayed the thief for a while. This will be enough for John to approach him and use a powerful blow, his main weapon. With this blow, he was able to take away an object that rightfully belonged to him. Donald very quickly realized that he had no chance of winning, and there was no point in continuing the battle, so he disappeared. After that, John immediately thanked his comrades for their help. Without them, he would not have returned the artifact to himself. The Necromancer has now reached level 12, his strength has become even greater, but the biggest upgrade has been to his health characteristic. Soon, they began the process of teleporting to the real world and finally met their teachers. The chief examiner, Master George, apologized to the students for the lax security and said that they would deal with the incident and punish the guilty. The university leadership is incredibly angry, and the competition for the championship title has been suspended for the time being due to the danger. The students were promised to be immediately returned to the academy and asked to be more careful until the Bida organization was destroyed. Finally, Lola approached John and asked him to be careful. Because Donald would try to get revenge, John replied that he wasn't worried about it. The Bida organization has failed in its main task, but they are unlikely to stop there. Catherine returned to her boss and told him the unpleasant news. She looked very upset and also scared, because she understood that she deserved a rather serious punishment. It turned out that her boss had already met John before, and even then he realized that this guy was special and deserved to be the son of the legendary David. Now let's move on to Kyoto Central University. The weather is wonderful here today. The bus with students arrived at the university early in the morning, and representatives of this educational institution were ready to meet these geniuses. As planned earlier, all the friends decided to study together in one place to be close to each other. They were immediately met by a representative of the Penn Admissions Committee, who was happy to see these geniuses. John immediately greeted the man and said that he wanted to meet with the university director immediately. It was very urgent. Soon, John met with Master William. They had already seen each other a few weeks ago. John told the director about the situation in the dungeon when the boss cursed him before his death. Seeing this, Master William became noticeably nervous. If nothing was done, John would die in 30 days. Now they must do everything possible to cure and save this talented boy. The most reliable way to do this is to buy the Sage prop, but it's an S-rank item, so it will be very hard to find. John already had this item, but he used it in the fight against Xiao Dong, in the Dungeon of 10,000 Poisons. Of course, this item can be found, but John hopes that there is another way to remove the curse. There are such methods, but John is not yet strong enough to use them, so it is better to move him to another place to slow down the effect of the curse. Master William said that almost nothing will help, so it's better to accept death and be prepared for it. John couldn't believe he was really hearing these words from an experienced warrior. Could nothing really be done? The university director said that John could try to go to the copy rank of D. John has already had to complete tasks in such copies, so he thinks it won't be difficult. The director explained that the tasks of rank D are different from the copies of rank E. They don't even need to be compared. In addition, John is still at a low level, even despite his strengths. Master Williams said that the director of a prestigious university in the capital could not send a low-level student to such a place. John started smiling and said that he wanted to at least try, and if he didn't succeed, he was ready to go back. The director probably took these words as disrespect, so he started attacking the guy and took away 500 health points from him. His eyes began to hurt so much that it seemed as if something was moving in them. Now it was clear why the #1 director in the world. Master William also admitted that this guy is an incredible talent. He is only at the entry level, but somehow he continues to stand on his feet. You could probably call it a test. And now John has earned the right to try his hand at copying rank D. This copy is called the Lake of Soul Purification. This lake can wash away all negative effects from a person. John listened to all the director's instructions and promised to return soon. He should take the opportunity to lift the curse. Finally, the director gave him one item that could help the boy in a difficult moment. This is a Chunkai pendant. It increases the wearer's stats and immunity to mind control, and it also has no class restrictions. This item is incredibly expensive, but the director gave it to John for a while. Then the boy must return it to the tunic. After saying goodbye to his friends, John immediately set off for the rank D copy, where the Lake of Soul Purification was already waiting for him. Even Elaine didn't tell him more details about the Soul Lake, although she always gives some information. The system welcomed players to the Soul Purification Rainforest and asked them to familiarize themselves with the rules. If something calls to them, they should not answer it. And if their friend disappears for more than 1 minute, they should not be trusted. Players should also remember the behavior and habits of their friends. If they hear questions from strangers, they should not answer those questions. Finally, she informed them that if they heard another person slurping, they should immediately shout loudly. In this place, safety is the most important task. If a person is in danger, it is better not to contact them. Some players decided to get to know each other better. The first one decided to give her name, Nancy. She is a level 22 water wizard. Next to her, wearing glasses like Harry Potter, is Edward. He is a level 21 assassin. Also with them are Swordsman Betty, Swordsman Brian, and mid-level sorcerer Helen, all of whom are about the same level. The players were shocked that such a weak player as John got into a rank D copy. They were sure that he would drag them to the bottom. Helen decided to protect him. Even though he's a novice, he's a necromancer, so he could be very useful if he could summon the undead. Edward said that beauty can be deceptive and therefore cannot be trusted, and he almost lost his head for these words. John smiled and said that being handsome was not a crime, and also said that he would show off his strengths at the most important moment. Soon the players set off. Rumor has it that the Lake of Soul Purification is located in the very center of the forest. Nancy wants to understand why such a weak player like John decided to go to such a strong copy. John smiled and prepared to answer, until he saw himself in front of him. The players were shocked and couldn't understand why there were 7 of them. Was this some kind of illusion? Looking closer, they realized that the Necromancer had received his copy, but how is this possible? Now they have to figure out who the real one is, although no one yet understands how to do it. Harry Potter suggested killing both of these necromancers and making his life easier. The proposal is quite interesting, but Nancy has a better idea. A real necromancer can summon the undead, so this way John can confirm that he is the original. One of the 2 necromancers immediately began the process of summoning the undead, but we all know that a real John can't do that. It turned out that a Chinese copy can be of incredible quality, probably something that only exists in a dungeon. Now John understands that no one will believe him. All he has to do is kill the copy. I wonder what a person feels when they kill themselves. It's unlikely to be any pleasant emotions. Although John has incredible power, his copy caused the undead, so this spirit must also be destroyed. For John, this won't be a big problem. He did everything he needed to in less than a minute. The system reported that the evil demon puppet had been destroyed. And when you kill a puppet, something strange might happen. It turned out that a spear fell out of this puppet. Now John has an additional weapon in the Lake of Soul Purification. Only now did the other players realize who was real and who was just a copy. But they don't understand how a necromancer could use such a weapon. They are also surprised that he was able to kill a level 22 copy. John had to explain that he had studied martial arts since childhood. He began to explain the details of his childhood and the conditions in which he trained. And it was at this moment that the evil demon appeared behind him again. John has good reflexes. He easily dodged the demon's attack, but Betty couldn't do it. Now a demon had taken possession of her, and she began to attack John, trying to destroy him. Now he understands how much the strength of a mid-rank swordsman differs from other warriors. He is lucky that he has a reserve of health. Otherwise, he would have died. The players realized that now Betty was possessed by a demon, and if she wasn't killed, she would kill them all. Nancy decided to show her strengths first and summoned the power of water. Using the power of water, they were able to surround Betty. All that remained was to kill her. This will be difficult to do because a mid-level swordsman is an extraordinary opponent who knows how to use the dragon strike. It's no wonder that the evil demon chose her body. He understands people. John approached the girl very quickly and chose the perfect moment for his powerful attack. When this guy gets a good hit in the jaw, his opponents are always knocked out. Finally, the players realized that they had a true genius with them who could defeat a mid-rank swordsman with one blow. The evil demon realized that this girl's body would no longer help him, so he freed himself from it. So they understood who made Betty do these terrible things. She was the strongest of all, but even she could not stand against the demon. A little later, the players were happy because they saw that Betty was not dead, but still alive. With the help of the power of holy water, they were able to return her to her normal state, at which point she explained that she had no control over her actions at all. After analyzing this situation, the players decided to continue on their path, but to be more careful in the future. Betty thanked John for his help. If it weren't for him, she would have been dead already. Of course, she was curious to know how a necromancer could have such power. John calmly replied that he was just lucky. Soon the team got lost. It would be more correct to say that the boys fell behind the girls and completely lost track of them. John stayed with the girls, and Edward and Brian were left alone and now risked death. They heard an unknown creature approaching them, and when they turned around, they saw something terrible. The system notified them that they had encountered a rare monster called the Yellowskin. This handsome guy is at level 29. Oddly enough, his strong point is charming others. It's not entirely clear how he does it with his appearance. He asked them who he looked more like, a man or a god, and Edward replied that he looked like an idiot. This was probably the wrong answer because after these words, the yellow-skinned mutant immediately began attacking the two players. Brian reminded us that we cannot talk to monsters, and in no case should we answer their questions. Harry Potter got angry and said that he was not afraid of any dog with yellow skin and began to attack the monster. It seemed that the yellow-skinned man was waiting for this. He likes to strike back. Soon he activated some kind of poison, the smell of which immediately caused the boys to suffocate. The rest of the team had already broken away far away, but they nevertheless heard the sounds of battle and paid attention to it. Only now did they realize that they had lost two swordsmen. Now it was clear that these sounds in the forest were because of the boys. They returned and found the swordsman on the ground. It is still unclear whether they survived or not. As they got closer, they heard Edward begging for help, and strange marks appeared on his body. The yellow-skinned man didn't have time to go far. He was still nearby. Looking at the other players, he decided to ask them the same question. Who does he look more like, a human or a god? John must have forgotten the rules, because he replied that the yellow-skinned man looked like a fool with a terrible expression on his face. This monster really doesn't like it when people try to insult him. He is not resistant to psychological pressure. Nancy managed to warn John that the yellowskin is a very rare monster and can be extremely dangerous. John is lucky to have experienced players like Helen, who can activate the power of the tree, by his side. This technique can restrain any monster, albeit for a short time. The yellow-skinned man quickly freed himself from the tree branches and delivered a powerful blow to the John. This would have been enough to kill even a Tyrannosaurus, but the boy survived and made the monster wonder. If you can't kill John with the first blow, you should run away because this guy will strike back. Now the girls are not sure that they are really new to him. They think he has been lying all this time. It's impossible for a novice to have the strength to deliver such powerful blows, even if he's a necromancer. The yellow-skinned man should have sat silently in the forest and not come out. But now it was too late to regret his action. After such a successful performance, John should definitely become the leader of this team. John tried to return to his friends and make sure they were okay, but he was stopped. Edward decided not to trust John and said that he was a monster, not a player. An entry-level necromancer would not be able to defeat the monster without the help of an extraordinary weapon, so he believes that John is an NPC. This place is really different from all the others, so if John is not a monster, he should confirm it or leave. The girls defended the handsome guy and said that he couldn't be a monster, although the boys didn't really trust John. In any case, the necromancer said that the monster could not have such a powerful weapon as his, and showed the item that the director had given him. Seeing the subject, the boys realized that they really had a genius in front of them. They immediately started apologizing, saying there had been a misunderstanding and asking John for forgiveness. This whole situation was quite strange, but soon everything was resolved and the team continued on their way. The guys are still suspicious of John because a newcomer can't have such precious items. They wanted to kill him and take this artifact, but remembering how easily he destroyed the yellow-skinned man, they changed their minds. These two players are at an average level, but still too weak to defeat him. The team of players calmly continued searching for the lake, but suddenly they saw something strange. While the boys were still somehow holding back their emotions, the girls began to tremble noticeably. It seems like they found a lake, but there are some unknown spirits near this lake. Maybe these are the people who failed to get through this dungeon. It looks really terrible. There was an altar of spirits. The players decided to go to it and calm down a bit. On this great wall were written some ancient texts. The tasks of the mysterious kingdom can only be completed if a sacrifice is made. It was also written that the creatures on the shore of the lake were demons, and the person who was sacrificed would also become a demon. So this task is also related to sacrifice, which has become fashionable recently. John had no idea that the swordsmen were plotting against him. They had long ago decided that their average rank would be enough to defeat him together, of course, to take the A-rank artifact. A sneaky attack without warning always yields results. The swordsmen said they were carrying out the tasks of the mysterious kingdom. They probably planned to sacrifice John from the very beginning, but he saved their lives. Are they really that ungrateful? These guys remember the system's words that no one can be trusted in this copy, so John must blame his weakness. They prepared to sacrifice him, but they lost the altar. It turned out that the girls did not share their plans and did not want to help kill John. The guy was warned not to trust anyone, but he couldn't have imagined that one of the team members would betray him. Betty said that John helped her and even saved her life, so she is in his debt. At this moment, the swordsmen drew their weapons and prepared to make the sacrifice. John remained calm, giving the impression that he was ready to bring on the undead, although he did not know how to do it. The battle has begun. There are two swordsmen and they are very well armed, so you have to be careful. They asked John not to argue with them and to accept his defeat so he could help others. The necromancer guessed that they wanted his weapon. This motive was too obvious. It turned out that not only boys are swordsmen, there is another girl with such class, but she supports the other side of the conflict. Edward didn't understand why she was fighting against them. He must have forgotten that John had saved the girl's life. He began to persuade her to join their side and complete the mysterious kingdom's mission. If they can sacrifice John to the demons, they will stay alive and everything will be fine. Betty replied that such methods of completing the mission did not suit her. And besides, no one said that one had to sacrifice one's comrades. The battle continued and John began to seize the initiative. He's angry that he wasn't asked about the sacrifice, but now he's going to make them respect him. We must not forget about the other team members. Perhaps they are also trying to choose the winning side now. While the battle continued, someone pulled a lever and began the process of sacrifice. It turned out to be Helen, but no one could figure it out right away. The players felt a very powerful mental attack. They started to feel dizzy and their blood pressure increased. John is very lucky that he is immune to this. It turns out that the director saved his life. It's hard to understand why Helen decided to do this. She probably just wants to complete the task and not get her hands dirty. The guys called her a selling pig, but completely forgot that they had behaved the same way a few minutes ago. She reminded the boys that they were the ones who attacked John, so they shouldn't be upset that she attacked them. John was curious as to how Helen had learned how to activate the altar. No one had told her about it. Helen was always different from the others. It seemed as if she never felt any danger at all. She even found the altar very quickly, and it turned out that she knew how to activate it. It seems that this is not the first time she has been tested in the mysterious kingdom. The players were close to death and had already said goodbye to life, but not John. He always fights to the last and is ready to take a step forward at a moment when it seems that everything is over. He saved everyone else and now wants to know from Helen how she learned how to activate the altar. So far, the girl is in no hurry to answer all the questions and has finally shown her true face. Although she looks quite beautiful on the outside, her inner nature is terrible. Her wooden techniques can be a problem, so you need to demonstrate speed and endurance to defend against these attacks. She is sure that the newcomer will not be able to beat her, another player who has too much self-confidence. She began to attack John with an unknown force, something he had never encountered before. It's something like a parasite. Probably if nothing is done, the guy will die from poisoning. She asked him not to worry and said that he would just become her next victim. John guessed that now was the perfect opportunity to activate the ring of the dead demon that he had received in the last task. Let's remind you that this ring allows you to take away half of your opponent's agility, and Helen has incredible agility. This ring only works for 10 seconds, but now this woman is left without her best feature. If you choose the perfect moment to attack and activate the Swanky suspension, you can increase your power by 30%. The blow that Helen will now feel can be compared to the explosion of an atomic bomb, so she must prepare.